Chapter 31:14. At this moment, Fong Hao was in an abnormally miserable state. His legs were broken, and there were many wounds on his body. Fresh blood dyed his body red. It was obvious that he was heavily injured. "Who did this to you?" Lin Xian asked in a low voice. He was indeed angry. The first person he met on the Origin returning star was Fong Hao. Fong Hao was very honest and had brought him along to search for spirit herbs. He even treated him as a true friend. Lin Xian did not look down on him because he was weak. He was also a true friend. But now he had only left for a short while, and Fong Hao was beaten to such a state. He absolutely could not tolerate it. At the same time, he saw Wan Gong, young Master Shin, and the others kneeling on the ground. Their legs were broken, and their flesh was badly mangled. It was obvious that these people were not the ones who did it. These people were also injured. Even Qing Qing and the others were imprisoned by the array. It seemed that Fong Hao was implicated. However, before Lin Xian could say anything, Madame Hua, who was in front of him, giggled. So it was this young master. I didn't expect the young master to be so generous. He really wanted to buy 50 stalks of king herbs. I hope the young master can forgive me for my poor judgment. She did not think that Lin Xian had the strength. But now Lin Xian was here, and the goods were checked. She knew that no one dared to make such a joke. The other party definitely wanted these 50 stalks of king herbs. This was definitely not an ordinary youth. He definitely had a great background. The Bloody Blade monarch was also stunned. He asked, "Who is this person?" Speaking of which, this young master had some connections with the people kneeling on the ground. They seemed to have come together. When these words came out, all the experts in the hall were surprised. Many of their expressions became very interesting. Opposite him, the metal sword monarch's eyes shone with a golden light, enveloping Lin Xian. "Nephew Jean, when the incident happened, was this young master present?" The Bloody Blade monarch asked in a low voice. The purple-clothed youth looked at Lin Xian with a trace of surprise in his eyes. He did not have the ability to buy 50 stalks of king herbs. The other party looked younger than him and actually had such wealth. It was really unexpected. However, he shook his head. "I don't know this person." Madame Hua and the Bloody Blade monarch heaved a sigh of relief when they heard this. It seemed like there was no enmity between the two sides. The Bloody Blade monarch said with a smile, "This young master, 50 king herbs, the price was negotiable. Moreover, he could give the young master a great discount. He could even let the young master take this person away." With that, he pointed at Fong Hao. "However, it's impossible for the others to leave after scolding the guests who offended me." When these words were spoken, the hearts of Wan Gong and the others sank to the bottom of the ocean. They looked at Fong Hao with envy. Haiyu, in particular, couldn't believe it. She had always looked down on this young man, but he actually had such an identity. He could buy 50 stalks of king herbs. He could even make the Bloody Blade King give him face. This was something that Wan Gong could not do at all. Thinking of this, Haiyu felt extremely regretful. Wan Gong gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. Why? How could this kid be so powerful? He was the genius of the Heavenly Dipper sect, the young master of the Wan clan. They would not be able to contend against the Bloody Blade monarch. Their legs would be broken and they would be slaughtered. But what about the other party? He could actually make the Bloody Blade monarch treat him like this. He was going crazy with jealousy. However, he knew that he could not be jealous. He hurriedly looked at Lin Xian, hoping that he would save him. Haiyu, who was at the side, was even more excited. "Young master, please save me. I'm willing to pay any price." Lin Xian ignored Haiyu, Wan Gong, and the others. He looked directly at Fong Hao. With a wave of his hand, a green light flew out and enveloped Fong Hao. Instantly, Fong Hao's broken legs and the cracks on his body quickly recovered. This scene shocked the experts in the main hall once again. What a magical ability! It could actually heal injuries. Was this a wood-tight martial artist? These people were shocked. Fong Hao felt like he was in a dream. The injuries just now had an extremely strong, murderous aura that he could not erase. He could only endure it with great difficulty. However, he did not expect that Lin Xian would heal him with a gentle wave of his hand. Could it be that the brother Lin he knew was an expert? However, he was only an early-stage 9-star martial artist. He could not see through Lin Xian's strength. "Thank you, brother Lin, for saving me." Fong Hao cupped his fists gratefully. Lin Xian smiled. "You and I are friends. You don't have to be so polite." Speaking of this, his face turned gloomy. His eyes were emitting a cold, murderous aura. "Not just anyone can touch my Lin Xian's friend. Who was the one who injured you just now?" It was Fong Hao wanted to say something, but stopped. He was not an arrogant person. Moreover, he knew that although Lin Xian was strong, he was not strong enough to face the Bloody Blade Monarch. Seeing that Fong Hao did not speak, Lin Xian looked at the Bloody Blade Monarch and said loudly, "I'll give you a chance. Tell me who injured my friend and kill him. I can spare your lives." What? As soon as these words came out, everyone was like a bolt from the blue, struck dumb. The Bloody Blade Monarch was even more stunned. Then he raised his head and laughed. The others followed suit. His voice shook the 9 heavens. Black holes appeared in the sky, and the blood sea surged. Wan Gong, young Master Shin, and the others were stunned. Hai Yu was pale with fright. Did this kid want to die? He actually dared to say such words to the Bloody Blade Monarch. What a reckless brat! Who did he think he was? Did he think he could fight against the Bloody Blade Monarch by buying 50 king herbs? This kid might not be able to buy the king herbs today. He might even lose his life here. As expected, the Bloody Blade Monarch stopped talking. The blood sea on his body turned into 9 dragons that circled behind him. A pair of blood-red eyes stared at Lin Xian. "Kid, what did you just say? You want to kill all of us? Who do you think you are?" Beside him, the black-armored man sneered. "I know you're rich. If you can buy 50 king herbs, your identity must be extraordinary. Moreover, that move just now should belong to a wood elemental martial artist. May I know which family you're from? However, even your family's patriarch wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous in front of the Bloody Blade Monarch. Hurry up and kneel down and apologize. Otherwise, I won't be polite." This black-armored man was the captain of the 10,000 Herb Hall's guards. Previously, he was the one who broke the legs of Fong Hao and the others. At this moment, the black-armored man looked down at Lin Xian from above. Everyone was extremely nervous. Fong Hao exclaimed and wanted to dissuade Lin Xian. However, the next moment he was stunned. Lin Xian looked at the black-armored man, snorted, and raised his hand. A large golden hand descended from the sky. With a bang, the black-armored man was slammed to the ground. Half of the black-armored man's body was instantly turned into a bloody mist. Ah! A wretched scream rang out. It was as if a malicious spirit was screaming. Blood spurted out. Everyone was shocked again. What had they just seen? Chapter 3115. The dignified captain of the law enforcement team, a late-stage 9-star powerhouse, was seriously injured by a young man's slap. It was unbelievable. The powerhouses in the hall were stunned. Wan Gong, Hai Yu, and the others' minds went blank. Everything that had happened since Lin Xian's arrival was simply too shocking. Every one of them was like a dream. Now they were even more scared silly. "Ah, damn kid, I'm going to kill you." The black-armored man screamed crazily, and his broken body quickly healed. He got up from the ground and wanted to attack again. However, in the next moment he was crushed by a golden foot again, and his body was torn into pieces. He was firmly trampled on the ground. Lin Xian looked around and said coldly as he stepped on the black-armored man with one foot, "This is your last chance. Whoever did it, stand out and let me kill you. The others can live. Otherwise, all of you will be buried with me." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, and his killing intent surged and swept through the 9 heavens. At this moment, no one dared to doubt his words. Seeing that no one spoke, Lin Xian stared at the purple-clothed young man. Suddenly, the purple-clothed young man trembled in fear, and the long sword in his hand fell to the ground. However, he still gritted his teeth and roared, "Kid, why are you looking at me? It was me who did it. Kill me if you can. See if my father doesn't slap you to death." His father was an extremely terrifying, invincible king. Even the Bloody Blade King had to be careful, let alone this young man in front of him. As long as his father made a move, he could kill him with a sword. "You did it. Very well." Lin Xian snorted coldly, waved his hand, and grabbed at the purple-clothed young man. "You're courting death." Seeing this, all the kings in the hall were furious. In an instant, 3 of them rushed over. 2 of them protected the purple-clothed young man, and 1 of them attacked Lin Xian. Whoosh! Bang! Ah! The purple-clothed young man screamed as he was slapped away. Half of his face was smashed, and his body turned into a bloody mist. The attacker had only managed to attack Lin Xian's illusion. This scene caused an uproar in the hall. The kings all stood up, their killing intent exploding. Wan Gong, Haiyu, and the others were stupefied. Who was this person? His methods were too powerful. He actually dared to openly oppose the 10,000 herb hall. Madame Hua was so scared that her beautiful face turned pale. The middle-aged deacon was even more stunned. Wasn't he here to buy spirit medicine? Why did they start fighting? He shivered and hid at the side. The Bloody Blade Monarch's eyes shone with a cold light as blood-colored runes spread out from his body. "Good kid. How many years has it been since someone dared to attack me? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Close the door and get into formation. Don't let anyone out." Following the Bloody Blade Monarch's order, the entire hall lit up with countless runes. They were densely packed and emitted a terrifying aura. "Boss, should we kill these people?" Many kings looked at Wan Gong and the others. The Bloody Blade Monarch said, "Get them out first and watch them carefully. After I kill this kid, I'll deal with these people." Wan Gong and the others had extraordinary statuses, and they could make good use of them. Who knows, they might be able to extort a huge sum of money from these clans. Therefore, he didn't kill Wan Gong and the others for now. Even Fong Hao was enveloped by the array and sent out of the hall. Only the experts from the Myriad Herb Hall and Lin Xian were left in the hall. Lin Xian didn't care as he left a strand of sword energy in Fong Hao's body. With this sword energy, Fong Hao wouldn't be in danger. As for the lives of the others, he didn't care. "Father, kill him. You must kill him. Take revenge for me." After the purple-clothed youth's body reformed, he went to the fat, middle-aged man's side and screamed crazily. The middle-aged man, who was the Metal Sword Monarch, sat up straight. He didn't attack, but looked at the Bloody Blade Monarch. The Bloody Blade Monarch said, "Brother Jean, don't worry. I'll settle this matter and capture this kid personally. Go, capture him for me." Following the Bloody Blade Monarch's order, more than 10 experts quickly attacked and surrounded Lin Xian once again. "Die for me." An old man opened his mouth and spat out a heavenly river. The blue heavenly river was like lightning and contained immense power. Whoa! The other woman took out an ancient mirror. Countless light runes flew out from the ancient mirror and attacked Lin Xian. Boom! A blue-clothed, middle-aged man waved his hand, and countless runes interweaved to form a large net that fell from the sky. Rays of light rose as these people attacked with all their strength. More than 10 invincible kings working together was truly terrifying and could destroy everything. Even the Bloody Blade Monarch and the Metal Sword Monarch might not be able to contend against them and could only dodge, let alone this kid in front of them. "You don't know what's good for you. You actually dare to bully me. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back and smiled as he looked at the divine abilities rushing at him from all directions. These people were all invincible kings, and in the eyes of others, they were extremely powerful. But in his eyes, they were nothing. He stretched out a large golden hand and grabbed in all directions. Boom! The overflowing silver river surged in all directions and was directly shattered. The flickering net was also torn to pieces. The ancient mirror was also shattered by Lin Xian with a slap. In just an instant, the offensive divine abilities of more than 10 invincible kings were all broken. How was this possible? The dozen or so invincible kings were stunned, and their bodies began to tremble. At this moment, the Metal Sword Monarch and the Bloody Blade Monarch also stood up and stared at Lin Xian with piercing cold light in their eyes. However, what shocked them was yet to come. Lin Xian bent his index finger slightly and then flicked out a sword wave that flew in all directions with him as the center. Puff! 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 The invincible kings were enveloped by the sword wave and their bodies were instantly shattered. Corpses fell from the sky and a bloody mist filled the air. It was a scene of hell on earth. Madame Hua was stunned, the purple-clothed youth was stunned, the Metal Sword Monarch was stunned, and the Bloody Blade Monarch was also stunned. Especially the Bloody Blade Monarch and the Metal Sword Monarch. Their scalps went numb. Those were more than 10 invincible kings. How terrifying was it when they attacked together. Even they did not dare to face them head-on and could only rely on their speed to dodge. However, the other party had broken all their divine abilities with a light wave of his hand. And with a light wave of his hand, he had killed these invincible kings. Why did it look like a legend? I said before, don't attack me and don't provoke me. Do you still want to continue? Lin Xian stood with his hands crossed and asked indifferently. His voice was not loud, but it was like a clap of thunder in the ears of these people, causing them to tremble. Kid, who exactly are you? The Bloody Blade Monarch gritted his teeth and asked, Me. My name is Lin Xian. Lin Xian? I've never heard of you. Which family are you from? Which sect are you from? The Metal Sword Monarch also kept roaring. He was really frightened. Such a young man with such means. Could he be one of those terrifying existences? But that was impossible. Why would such a genius be here? Why would he be related to Feng Hao and the others? They really could not understand. Chapter 30:116. Lin Xian did not reply to their nonsense. Instead, he stared at the purple-clothed youth. Now you can die obediently. The purple-clothed youth was scared out of his wits and hurriedly hid behind the Metal Sword King. Father, save me. The purple-clothed youth's voice was trembling. The Metal Sword King snorted coldly. Since you don't want to talk about your origin, don't blame me for being impolite. Although the other party was powerful and had strange methods, he would not stop. This purple-clothed youth was his son. How could he allow someone to attack him in front of him? It had always been him killing others, and this time was no exception. Go to hell, brat. The Metal Sword King roared, and 36 golden sword lights appeared behind him. The runes on them revolved and exploded with soaring, killing intent. As the Metal Sword King waved his arm, the 36 sword lights trembled violently. Each of them was like a pillar that supported the sky, emitting a cold light. These sword lights slashed down together, filling the entire sky. Too powerful. The Metal Sword King's first move was a killing move. He was an expert at the peak of the 9-star level. This attack was even more terrifying than the combined attack of a dozen unparalleled kings. Seeing this scene, the Bloody Blade King laughed. The Metal Sword King's strength was above his expectations. This way, the kid would definitely not be able to block it. The shocking attack enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian looked at the surrounding sword lights with disdain. You want to compete with me in sword techniques? Let me show you what a true sword technique is. He stretched out his golden hand and grabbed at the sky. Instantly, He grabbed one of the golden sword lights. Then he waved his arm. Buzz! The originally dazzling golden sword light suddenly erupted with unparalleled light, enveloping the entire heaven and earth. The biting cold aura caused the surrounding array to tremble. How was this possible? The Metal Sword King opened his eyes wide in disbelief. This move of his, the 36 golden lights, was extremely terrifying and incomparable. He had already used it to the extreme. However, one of the sword lights could increase its power in the hands of the other party. Moreover, it was far beyond his. The difference between him and the other party was like the difference between an ant and a dragon. This made him despair. With a slash, the remaining 35 sword lights were cut in half. The sky was split into two halves. The surrounding formations kept rumbling and shattering. Puff! Metal Sword King was sent flying by the sword. His body was split open and blood splattered everywhere. It was an exceptionally terrifying scene. Impossible! Damn it, I don't believe it. The purple-clothed youth screamed as if he had gone mad. His father had actually been defeated and had even been split apart. He was about to faint from fright. Bloody Blade King's pupils shrank. Metal Sword King, let's attack together. With a clang, he drew out a long saber. His aura pierced through the clouds. Good. The Metal Sword King's body reassembled, and his fat body quickly became thin, turning into a robust man. At the same time, the aura on his body rapidly erupted, burning his blood essence. The middle-aged man's fat body was used to nourish his blood essence. At critical moments, he would burn it to strengthen himself. Now that he was burning his blood essence, his aura had improved tremendously. Absolute kill, dazzling heaven and earth. The Metal Sword King bellowed. His body emitted tens of thousands of sword chi, which filled the entire space. Every ray of sword chi was much sharper than the one before. These sword chis kept vibrating and quickly gathered to form a golden sword. It was grabbed by the Metal Sword King. Whoosh! He soared into the sky, piercing through the void. In an instant, he arrived in front of Lin Xian. If this sword pierced through, even an unparalleled king would be destroyed in body and soul. Haha, kid, die for me. Behind him, the purple-clothed youth shouted excitedly. Too weak. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. He stretched out 2 fingers and placed them in front of his forehead. Clang! He actually managed to catch the sword light with both hands. How was this possible? Even Metal Sword King was trembling. This was his strongest attack. He had already burned his blood essence. Even if the Bloody Blade King was hit, he would probably be seriously injured and on the verge of death. However, the other party had easily caught it with 2 fingers. Who was this person? Was he not a young man, but an old monster who had lived for thousands of years? Thinking of this, he was extremely terrified. But soon he smiled, because on the other side, the Bloody Blade King had made his move. The Bloody Blade King had unknowingly appeared behind Lin Xian. The blood-colored saber in his hand slashed down. This saber was surrounded by 9 blood-colored flood dragons. Each of them was like a huge mountain, emitting a vast aura. This saber slash was definitely not weaker than the Metal Sword King's ultimate move. The Bloody Blade King was indeed an ambitious person. His first move was an absolute kill, not giving the other party any chance to live. Let's see how you die this time. The Bloody Blade King was too excited. His sudden attack was definitely not something the other party could block. Lin Xian did not block at all. He allowed the saber to slash down. Boom! This saber landed solidly on Lin Xian's body, emitting a sonorous sound. The Bloody Blade King was overjoyed at first. This saber slash could definitely split the other party in half. But soon he was stunned. Then he became shocked. His eyes were filled with fear. Even the Metal Sword King looked as if he had seen a ghost and screamed crazily. This was because they had realized that the Bloody Blade King's blood-colored saber had landed on Lin Xian's shoulder, causing sparks to fill the sky and a thunderous sound to ring out. However, Lin Xian was not injured. In fact, there was not even a drop of blood. Sneak attack me? Do you think you can succeed? Lin Xian did not even turn his head. His body only trembled slightly. With a clang, the blood-colored saber broke into two halves. Bang! 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 The Bloody Blade King kept retreating. He was trembling and his eyes were filled with fear. Who are you? Who exactly are you? He was really stunned. His saber was absolutely terrifying. However, the other party was actually unharmed. What kind of physique was that? He had never heard of it before. The Metal Sword King's body was also trembling. What kind of existence were they trying to assassinate? This was definitely a terrifying genius that they could not comprehend. Whoosh! He wanted to escape. However, would he be able to escape? Lin Xian gently waved his finger. Immediately, the golden light sword formed by tens of thousands of sword auras began to shatter. The Metal Sword King discovered that cracks had also appeared on one of his arms and were spreading to his entire body. With a loud bang, it exploded with a loud bang. Ah! The Metal Sword King screamed crazily. He wanted to escape, but he was destroyed by Lin Xian's finger. Even his soul could not escape. No! The purple-clothed youth screamed crazily and fainted from fear. The Bloody Blade King knelt on the ground with a plop and kowtowed nonstop. Young master, don't kill me. I was blind and offended, young master. I beg, young master, to spare my life. His head hit the ground like a clap of thunder. Don't kill you? Give me a reason not to kill you. Lin Xian turned around and looked down at the other party. He was like a high and mighty deity that controlled everything. The Bloody Blade King raised his head. When he saw those emotionless eyes, his soul trembled. The next moment, he slashed out with his saber and split the purple-clothed youth into two halves. This kid dared to provoke young master's friend. I have long disliked him. Now I will kill him. I beg, young master, to spare my life. Oh, Lin Xian did not even look at the purple-clothed youth. That's it. Chapter 30:117. Of course not. The Bloody Blade monarch knelt on the ground, looking even more respectful. He smiled fawningly and said, "The 50 stalks of king medicines that young master wants, I will give them to young master for free." If anyone else had been there and heard this, they would have been scared silly. 50 king herbs. That was a huge sum of wealth. Yet the Bloody Blade monarch was giving it away. However, Lin Xian was still unmoved. 50 king herbs? He was indeed tempted, but it wasn't enough. Originally, he had wanted to uproot the 10,000 herb hall after injuring my companion. Did he think he could uproot the entire 10,000 herb hall with just 50 king herbs? To be honest, Lin Xian didn't care about this. These were about 5,000 years old, so they could only be called small king herbs. A real king medicine was worth 8,000 yuan or even 10,000 years of age. The 10,000 herb hall probably didn't even have such an existence. The value of that one king herb far exceeded these 50 king herbs. The Bloody Blade monarch almost despaired when he heard Lin Xian's words. Even 50 king herbs couldn't quell the other party's anger? Was he really going to die here today? On the other hand, Madame Hua screamed and came back to her senses. She hurriedly crawled over. "Young master, I know that you are collecting a lot of spirit herbs. The 10,000 herb hall can definitely help you collect them. We will do it for free." Yes, the 10,000 herb hall is willing to help you collect all kinds of spirit herbs for free. The Bloody Blade monarch seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. Lin Xian, on the other hand, looked at them with a half-smile on his face. Really? Were they really willing to do this? I'm afraid they couldn't make the decision, right? The 10,000 herb hall was able to stand tall in Giant Armor City because of you, the Bloody Blade monarch. That was indeed the case. The Bloody Blade Monarch was powerful enough to dominate giant Armor City. However, the cloud-returning planet was so big that Lin Xian didn't think that there weren't any exceptional experts here. To be honest, there are indeed some mysterious existences behind the 10,000 Herb Hall. Have you heard of the Green Hill Qi family? The 10,000 Herb Hall was the property of the Qi family's fourth master. At this critical moment, the Bloody Blade Monarch finally revealed the power behind him. The Green Hill Qi family? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had just arrived on Return Cloud Planet, so he naturally did not know anything about the Qi family. The Bloody Blade Monarch seemed to see the doubt in Lin Xian's eyes. He was equally shocked. How could anyone not know about the Qi family? The other party should be from one of the top clans as well. Naturally, he would know about the Green Hill Qi clan. However, he didn't dare to ask. He could only explain that the school of weaponry was very famous in the northern continent, and it wasn't any weaker than the great sects of the Holy Lands. Was it a great sect-level family? No wonder he was able to support the 10,000 Herb Hall. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed possible. Are you threatening me by bringing up the Qi family? Lin Xian said indifferently. He was no longer afraid of the Qi clan. If it was in the past, he wouldn't have been able to contend against the major sects of the Holy Lands. But things were different now. This was the Cloud Return Planet, and he had nothing to worry about. With his strength, only the foundations and fossils of the great sects of the Holy Lands could threaten him. He really didn't care about the other people like the elders and the sect master. Moreover, he wasn't stupid. Once those living fossils made a move, he could just leave Cloud Return Planet without a second thought. Hence, Lin Xian wouldn't show any mercy here. I naturally don't dare to threaten you. I just don't want to cause trouble for you. The Bloody Blade Monarch said fawningly. Whatever you need, just tell me. I'll definitely do it. Madame Hua nodded furiously. They knew that Lin Xian had killed the Metal Sword Monarch with a raise of his hand. Killing them would be as easy as flipping his hand. All right, I'll spare your lives. Lin Xian waved his hand and threw out a jade slip. Collect as many spirit herbs as there are in it. Yes, Madame Hua and the Bloody Blade Monarch hurriedly sent their souls into it. But in the next moment, they fainted. There were so many spirit herbs. There were more than 1,000 types. Moreover, they had never even heard of many of them. Who was this person? Why was he collecting so many spirit herbs? Could he be an alchemist? Lin Xian ignored them. Instead, he said coldly, "Go ahead and collect them. When the time comes, I'll come and get them. Also, don't try to play tricks. Don't think of using other methods to deal with me. I'm not in existence, you can understand. If you provoke me, I'll destroy the Qi family." Lin Xian wasn't wrong. With the current Qi family, only the living fossils and the dormant foundation were his opponents. However, the other elders weren't his opponents. If they provoked him, he would kill all the disciples and elders. Leaving only the living fossils behind was almost the same as destroying the Qi family. Moreover, Lin Xian wasn't worried about these spirit herbs spreading. Just by looking at these spirit herbs, no one would be able to guess what he was going to refine. He wouldn't tell anyone the real recipe. Hearing this, the Bloody Blade Monarch was startled. Then he immediately reacted. With a suction force, a storage ring on the ground was sucked into his hand. He then respectfully raised it above his head. "Young master, please." Lin Xian nodded slightly. He took the storage ring and put it away. Inside were the 55,000-year-old spirit herbs he had chosen. As for the rest, he would let these people collect them. When the time came, he would take them. He turned and walked into the distance. Behind him, the Bloody Blade Monarch and Madame Hua hurriedly stood up and respectfully followed behind Lin Xian. Outside, Wan Gong, Hai Yu, and the others had ugly expressions. Fang Hao was anxiously waiting. "Brother Lin, nothing must happen to you." Fang Hao prayed in his heart. Hai Yu and Wan Gong snorted. "Nothing must happen to him. He's definitely dead." After offending the Bloody Blade monarch, it would be difficult for him to walk out alive. I thought he was a genius young master who could take us away. I didn't expect him to be a reckless fool. Hai Yu also shook her head. The others' faces were ashen. It seemed that they were really dead this time. Buzz! The door of the hall opened and a figure walked out. It's over. He's here to kill us. Many of the prodigies closed their eyes. Hai Yu and the others were pale with fright. However, in the next moment, they heard Wan Gang's roar. What? It's you. How is this possible? How can you not be dead? He was so shocked that it was as if he had seen a ghost. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat. When the others heard this, they opened their eyes. What had happened? What was it that could make Wan Gangwei so shocked? They looked over and were all dumbstruck. This was probably the biggest shock they had ever experienced in their lives. The person who walked out was Lin Xian. He was spotless and had his hands behind his back. He wasn't injured at all. He didn't die, and he wasn't injured at all. How was this possible? Could it be that the Bloody Blade monarch didn't attack him? But how was that possible? Lin Xian had offended the Bloody Blade monarch in public. It was already good enough that he wasn't tortured to death for 100 years. But how did he come out alive? At this moment, everyone was stunned. Chapter 31:18. However, what shocked them even more was yet to come. That was because after Lin Xian came out, 2 more figures walked out. It was Madame Hua and the Bloody Blade monarch. However, at this moment, the 2 of them no longer had their previous arrogance and dignity. They followed behind Lin Xian, respectfully as if they were his servants. This scene made everyone feel like they were dreaming. The surrounding black armored guards who were in charge of guarding were also stunned. Someone even shouted coldly, "Damn brat, why did you come out? Go and die." That person's attack was only halfway through when it was shattered by a blood-red blade. It was the Bloody Blade monarch. He shouted coldly, "You're courting death. How dare you attack Lin Gongzi? Kneel down." Hearing this, the surrounding black armored army all knelt on the ground, trembling. Their boss, the Bloody Blade monarch, was furious. The Bloody Blade monarch smiled apologetically at Lin Xian. "Lin Gongzi, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you and disturbed you. Yes. I'll prepare the best banquet to entertain Lin Gongzi." Madame Hua, who was beside him, also smiled apologetically. If she wasn't afraid of Lin Xian, she would have stuck her entire body to him. In front, Wan Gong, Hai Yu, young Master Shin, and the others all had their mouths wide open. Were they dreaming? Were they under an illusion? The great Bloody Blade monarch was actually speaking in such a servile manner? What did this Lin Xian do? Who was he? Even Qing Qing and the lady in black were stunned. Fang Hao was even more stunned, as if he was dreaming. The Bloody Blade monarch continued, "What are you waiting for? Quickly remove the array for these people." Previously, he had heard from Madame Hua that Lin Xian had come with these people. They should be companions. Therefore, he naturally had to release these people now. Hearing this, Hai Yu, Wan Gong, and the others were overjoyed. Were they saved? That was great. Young Master Shen Yumin and the others felt as if they had just survived a disaster. Lin Xian naturally didn't say anything about this because these people were still useful to him. Lin Xian turned to look at the Bloody Blade King. The Bloody Blade monarch hurriedly said, "Don't worry, young master. I will do my best to prepare and will not disappoint you." "That's good." Lin Xian nodded and looked at Fang Hao. "Let's go." As he spoke, he walked forward. Fang Hao quickly followed beside him. Seeing this, the others also sped up and left the 10,000 Herbs Hall as if they were fleeing. After leaving the 10,000 Herb Hall, everyone finally heaved a sigh of relief. Among them, Fang Hao was very excited. "Brother Lin, you're fine." "That's great. Thank you for your help." He knew that the reason Lin Xian had clashed with the people of 10,000 Herb Hall was all because of him. Therefore, he was extremely sensitive. Ching Ching and the woman in black also walked over to pay their respects. They thanked Lin Gongzi for taking action. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Around them, Hai Yu, young Master Shen Wangong, and the others had complicated expressions on their faces. To be honest, they were extremely surprised. Before this, they had never taken Lin Xian seriously. However, they did not expect that Lin Xian would have such great power to make the Bloody Blade King bow. It could be said that they were saved because of this person in front of them. However, it was really difficult for them to thank the other party for the time being. They were used to being high and mighty. When had they ever been so grateful to someone of the same age? Therefore, everyone looked at Wangong, because Wangong was their leader. Wangong took a deep breath and clasped his fists. Thank you very much this time. I wonder which family's disciple Lin Gongzi is from. I, Wangong, will definitely visit and thank you another day. Visit and thank you? Lin Xian smiled and said, Don't worry. Each of you will have the chance to repay me. What did he mean? Wangong frowned slightly. That's right, kid, don't go too far. Young Master Shin snorted coldly. The others were also unhappy. They had already thanked him. What else did he want? What did he mean? You were going to die, but I saved you from the hands of the Bloody Blade King. Now your lives are mine. What? The moment he said that, everyone was stunned. Wangong's face turned cold. What did you say? Our lives are yours? What a joke! Did you think that the Bloody Blade King would dare to attack us just because we were captured? That's right. Hai Yu also shrieked. If he wanted to kill us, he would have done so long ago. Why did he have to trap us? I'm afraid that he wants to benefit from us. He just wants to make our family bleed. He doesn't dare to kill us. The others also responded. Now that they thought about it, that was indeed the case. It seems that you guys are really reckless. Lin Xian's eyes suddenly shone with a cold light. Then, countless phantoms appeared, densely packed together. The next moment, miserable screams rang out. Wangong, Hai Yu, young Master Shin, and the surrounding people all screamed. Other than Fang Hao, the black-dressed woman, and Qing Qing, everyone else knelt on the ground again. Their legs were broken and turned into a bloody mist. Damn it, you dare to break my legs? I'll kill you. Our family won't let you off. Screams rang out one after another. Wangong felt his scalp go numb. The nightmare had appeared again. Previously, at the 10,000 Herb Hall, their legs had been broken by the black-armored captain. Who would have thought that they would suffer the same fate again? Moreover, what shocked Wangong even more was that the other party was so strong. He had completely surpassed them. Who was this person? On the side, Qing Qing and the black-dressed woman also opened their small mouths in shock. Fang Hao was also stunned. Then he laughed bitterly. It turned out that Lin Xian was so strong. The two kings that the Blood River sect had chased down that day were probably killed by him. In front, Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, as if he had done something insignificant. He looked at the wailing scene in front of him and said coldly, If you dare to scream again, I'll kill you all. Immediately, no one dared to make a sound. Even Wangong clenched his teeth without uttering a single sound. This was because he did not doubt that the other party would dare to do so. Moreover, they were in Great Armor City, which was too close to the 10,000 Herb Hall. If the other party called the Bloody Blade Lord out, he would kill them. At that time, they would not be able to resist at all. What do you want? Wangong gritted his teeth and said. Lin Xian laughed. Smart. What's the use of keeping you alive? You've been mocking me since the beginning. Do you really think I don't know? I saved you, but you're not grateful? You want to turn the tables on me? There's no such thing in this world. As he said that, he waved his hand. A jade slip appeared in the air, and countless information poured into the minds of these people. Remember, each of you must collect at least 50 spiritual herbs, and they must be no less than 5,000 years old. You have 3 months to prepare. At that time, I'll personally come to collect them." With that, Lin Xian kept the jade slip. At the same time, a ball of 9 suns divine fire danced on his finger, then turned into countless flames and entered the glabella of Wangong and the others. After 3 months, if you can't hand over the spiritual herbs, you can imagine what will happen to you. Chapter 30:119. What? How dare you threaten us? Hai Yu screamed. Young Master Shin roared. Damn brat, I'll kill you. Humph. Lin Xian snorted. Suddenly, countless flames appeared on young Master Shin's body and enveloped him. Young Master Shin screamed. Damn it, get lost. With a cold shout, a blue gourd rushed out from the top of his head. Countless Milky Way flew out and formed a monstrous sea. It enveloped him and tried to extinguish the flames. However, he realized that he couldn't do it. No matter how many magical powers he used, the flames continued to burn. Young Master Shin knelt on the ground with a plop. I was wrong. Please forgive me. I'll definitely help you prepare the spiritual herbs. After he said that, the flames instantly merged into his body and disappeared. Young Master Shin fell to the ground. His body was charred black. The smell of barbecued meat filled the air. The armor on his body, the defensive jade pendant, and the necklace were all shattered. Everyone was stunned. Those who were kneeling on the ground started to tremble. Demon! This young man was simply a demon. What kind of means was this? It was simply a miracle. Originally, they wanted to join forces with Wangong to kill him, but now they didn't dare to do so. The other party could burn them with just a glance. If he wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. Damn it, it's the flame he planted in our bodies. Wangong clenched his fists. It seemed that he could only agree to the other party's request. After he left, he would look for his family and sect to find a solution. Therefore, these people all obediently said, Lin Gongzi, don't worry. We'll do our best to find the spiritual herbs for you. Lin Xian nodded and said again, also, Feng Hao is my brother. I don't want him to be in any danger in the future. If Feng Hao is hurt, I won't let you off. Of course I won't do it, but the Bloody Blade King will do it for me. Hearing this, everyone trembled again. It seemed that the last trace of revenge was gone. All right, get lost. Lin Xian waved his hand and blew on Gong and the others into the sky. Then he turned to look at Feng Hao. Let's go and have a drink. Feng Hao froze for a moment, then excitedly followed Lin Xian's footsteps. Qing Qing and the woman in black were also stunned. However, they soon heard Lin Xian's voice. Both of you don't just stand there. Come over together. The two of them were also overjoyed and followed after him. Wangong, Hai Yu, young Master Shin, and the others were blown away. Then they quickly recovered their legs and left Giant Armor City as if they were fleeing from something. They had to return to their respective clans and sects to discuss how to deal with the situation. They had all seen the information that Lin Xian had given them. Moreover, he had requested for them to be at least 5,000 years old. This was a sky-high price. Although they were all large families, to come up with such a spirit medicine, they would have to use a large amount of their family's wealth. They weren't the patriarchs of their families, they were just the younger generation. They didn't even know if their families would do such a thing for them. Furthermore, no one was willing to hand over these king medicines to the other party for free. Especially people like Wangong and Hai Yu, they were even more unwilling. Therefore, they had to find a solution quickly. It would be best if they could get rid of the flames in their bodies. This way, the other party wouldn't be able to threaten them anymore. On the other side at the 1,000 Herb Hall, in the magnificent hall, corpses and blood were still there. However, at this moment, a few more figures were standing there. 2 of them were the Bloody Blade Monarch and Madame Hua. The other figures were the experts who had just arrived at the 1,000 Herb Hall to look for their elders. When they saw the countless kings' corpses in the hall, their scalps went numb. What kind of battle had happened just now? Why didn't they sense it? One had to know that although a battle between kings was protected by a formation, it would still be earth-shattering, especially when so many kings attacked together. They would probably tear down the entire 1,000 herb hall. However, they didn't even sense a trace of energy. Then there was only one possibility: instant kill. Thinking of this, their scalps went numb. In front, Madame Hua looked at the bloody blade monarch and asked carefully, "My lord, what should we do? Should we report this to the Qi family? Let the Qi family send experts to kill that kid?" Nonsense. The bloody blade monarch suddenly exploded, and a sea of blood surged from his body. Madame Hua was so frightened that she knelt on the ground, trembling. The bloody blade monarch was like a demonic god as he said coldly, "You all saw what happened today. A young man instantly killed more than a dozen kings and defeated the metal sword monarch in one move. Do you think such a person is simple? How could such a person be an ordinary person? Although we are backed by the Qi family, to put it bluntly, we are just dogs of the Qi family. If we really offend an earth-shattering figure, will the Qi family risk their lives for us?" Madame Hua almost fainted when she heard this. The other elders also fell silent. That was indeed the case. Their 1,000 herb hall was a tyrant in Giant Armor City. They were even infamous in other cities. However, in the eyes of the Qi family, they were too insignificant. For an existence like the Qi family, it would be easy for them to kill them. Not to mention the Qi family, even Lin Xian, who had just left, could kill them easily. It would probably be as easy as blowing off dust. "My lord, don't worry. I understand. I won't dare say such things again." Madame Hua begged for mercy. The bloody blade monarch snorted coldly. "Get up." Things happened too suddenly. I don't blame you for having such thoughts. As he spoke, he fell silent. He, the bloody blade monarch, was only a rogue cultivator in the past. However, he was able to stand above so many geniuses. What did he rely on? It wasn't his talent or hard work. It was his ability to see through people. With this ability, he relied on countless people and finally managed to climb up the Qi family's branch. That was how he obtained his current status. Now, the feeling that Lin Xian gave him was too dangerous. He had lived for a few hundred years and naturally knew that this youth was too terrifying and had unparalleled potential. He was definitely a true dragon that couldn't be provoked. He had to treat him with caution. Otherwise, he would probably die without a burial ground. Pass down the order. Send people to protect Feng Hao in secret. They couldn't let anything happen to him. He could see that Feng Hao was Lin Xian's friend. Previously, it was because Feng Hao was injured that Lin Xian went against the entire 1,000 herb hall. He couldn't detect the whereabouts of someone like Lin Xian. Furthermore, he didn't dare to do so. Therefore, the only way he could curry favor with Lin Xian was to protect Feng Hao and even give him many benefits. The elder at the side frowned. He wondered where this kid was from. We have heard of most of the geniuses on the Cloud returning planet. However, this person before us seems very unfamiliar. We don't know. The bloody blade monarch shook his head. Perhaps our qualifications are too low and we can't understand the top level. Perhaps he is a new genius from some top family or sect. Chapter 30:120. That was indeed the case. Everyone sighed. Although they were powerful, the entire Cloud returning planet was too big. The 10,000 herb hall was nothing. Not to mention the 10,000 herb hall. Even though the Qi family behind them was a colossus, they weren't the best. There were other families that were stronger than the Qi family. Furthermore, there was another possibility. At that moment, the bloody blade monarch spoke again. The other elders were puzzled. What possibility? He might not be from the Cloud returning planet. What? As soon as he said that, the elders trembled and almost knelt on the ground in fright. Madame Hua almost fainted from fright. If he wasn't from the Cloud returning planet, could he be from another planet? I'm just guessing. However, Many unfamiliar faces have come to the cloud returning planet recently. You have to know that the ancient starry sky path has already opened. The cloud returning planet is a very important stop. It's not strange for geniuses from other planets to come here. If he really is a genius who has stepped onto the ancient starry sky path, you should know how to treat him. The elders were covered in cold sweat. Of course they knew. A genius who had stepped onto the ancient starry sky path was walking the path of a great emperor. All of them were top-notch geniuses. If they provoked such a person, they probably wouldn't even know how they died. After knowing how terrifying Lin Xian was, the Bloody Blade Monarch and the others were even more in awe. Therefore, they hurriedly took action. First, they sent people to secretly protect Feng Hao. Secondly, they had to do their best to collect the spiritual herbs that Lin Xian had left behind. Of course, the Bloody Blade Monarch still had to make a trip to the Qi family to report what had happened. On the other side, the four of them were seated in an exquisite and antique private room. 2 men and 2 women. They were Lin Xian's group. At that moment, the woman in black and Qingqing were sizing up Lin Xian with curious gazes. Through chatting along the way, Lin Xian also learned that this black-dressed woman was called Nailin Yanran. Nailin Yanran seemed to be very interested in Lin Xian. She kept beating around the bush, but in the end, she still couldn't figure out where Lin Xian had come from. Lin Gongzi, what do you plan to do next? Nailin Yanran asked softly. Qingqing and Feng Hao were also watching nervously. Lin Xian tapped his fingers on the table, producing a rhythmic sound. Next, I will continue to collect spiritual herbs. I need a lot of spiritual herbs, about 1,000 types. Moreover, the years needed were also relatively old, so they had to do their best to collect them. Of course, there was one more thing, but it was up to fate. That is, I'm looking for a furnace. Furnace? Could it be that Lin Gongzi was an alchemist? Qing cried out. Nailin Yanran's eyes also lit up. Feng Hao was even more shocked. Alchemist was an occupation that was closely related to martial arts. It had always been sought after by many martial artists. Those Danzong craftsmen were treated as honored guests by the major clans. After all, medicinal pills were seriously too important to martial artists. Regardless of whether it was recovery, treatment, breakthroughs, or survival, it could be used at any time. That's right, I am indeed an alchemist. Lin Xian nodded. In his opinion, this might be a very good identity. Moreover, it would help him to collect the spirit herbs he needed faster. No wonder. Nailin Yanran and the others were shocked. No wonder Lin Xian wanted to collect so many spiritual herbs. It turned out that he was an alchemist. Oh, right, Lin Gongzi, if you want a furnace, maybe I know a place. Nailin Yanran suddenly said. Oh, where? Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. He did need a furnace. Previously, he had 10,000 bee sting, but it was not enough now. Most of the pills he refined were for invincible kings. In the future, he would even refine pills for half-saints and saints. Therefore, he had to find a new furnace. The Void Divine Furnace was indeed good, but with Lin Xian's current strength, he could not control it. In a few months, there would be a grand event. At that event, some treasures would be introduced. Among them, there was a furnace that was said to be very impressive. Are you talking about the Tianfeng Pavilion? I know that too. At that time, it would probably attract countless alchemists, experts, and geniuses. That was a grand event. Qing said from the side. Feng Hao nodded. Obviously, they all knew about it. The Tianfeng Pavilion? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that he would have to make a trip there when the time came. Everyone chatted until late at night. The next day, Lin Xian bade farewell to the 3 of them. After all, both sides had their own things to do. Lin Xian also wanted to take a look around Cloud Returning Planet. Brother Lin, goodbye. Feng Hao looked at Lin Xian, his heart filled with emotions. On the other hand, Nailin Yanran waved her small hand. Lin Gongzi, goodbye at the Tianfeng Pavilion. Lin Xian waved his hand, turned into a ray of sword light, and disappeared into the sky. Then he summoned the little white monkey. This guy's treasure hunting ability was unparalleled. The little white monkey controlled the treasure bowl and pointed in a direction. Lin Xian increased his speed. A few days later, he stopped. Below was an endless dark swamp. Lin Xian used the heavenly secret god eyes and could sense the many auras coming from below. Among them, there were many auras that made him feel refreshed. It seemed that this was really a treasure trove. With a sway of his body, he brought the little white monkey into the forest below. In the dark swamp below, there were countless figures moving. These people were all invincible kings. There were dozens of them. The leader was a cold-looking woman in white. She was very eye-catching in the dark swamp. "Second miss, we've been walking for many days, but we still haven't found it. Is the news fake?" An old man next to her frowned and asked. The woman in white, called Second Miss, had a cold expression. "Continue to search. Even if it takes 8 to 10 years, you must find it." Hearing this, the invincible kings behind her sped up. There was even a majestic array in the sky that spread out in all directions as they moved. There was an ancient mirror above the woman in white's head. It shone in all directions and released thousands of auras. It was obvious that they were looking for something. The woman in white was called Chi Siu. She was the little princess of the Chi family and had a very high status. This time, she came to the dark swamp to find a spirit medicine called the sky silkworm fruit. This was because an ancestor of the Chi family was seriously injured and it was getting worse. If he couldn't be cured, he would probably die in less than 10 years. This was the result that the Chi family didn't want to see. However, the Chi family had searched for countless methods over the years, but they still couldn't cure the ancestor. Recently, Chi Siu saw in an ancient book that there might be hope for the sky silkworm fruit. Therefore, she asked around and finally found a trace of information. In the depths of the dark swamp, there was a sky silkworm fruit. Therefore, Chi Siu brought a large number of invincible kings to search for it. However, they had been searching for a month and hadn't found it. The dark swamp was too vast. If they searched aimlessly, they probably wouldn't be able to finish searching in a few years. Fortunately, Chi Siu was the little princess of the Chi family and had many treasures in her hands. Therefore, she was confident that she could greatly reduce the search time. Buzz, buzz, buzz! Suddenly, the ancient mirror above her trembled, and the surrounding array flickered with endless light. Chapter 30:121. What's going on? The invincible kings stopped and were bewildered. Chi Siu was overjoyed. There was a reaction. It seemed that the sky silkworm fruit was nearby. Increase the range. She shouted and formed a seal with her palms. The ancient mirror above her head suddenly erupted with light, and beams of light shot out in all directions. The others looked on with joy. Was there finally going to be a result? It's on the left. Follow me. The group quickly attacked, tore through the void, and flew into the distance. In front of them, a white light lit up. It was exceptionally eye-catching in the dark swamp, so Chi Siu saw it in an instant. There it was. Judging from its shape, it really seemed to be the sky silkworm fruit. Many invincible kings behind also saw it. Although it was only a glance, they would not be mistaken. It was a white fruit that looked like a silkworm lying there. In an instant, it disappeared into the darkness. Great, I finally found it. Chi Siu was very happy. Her figure flickered, and she rushed forward. However, in the next moment, her expression changed, and she quickly dodged to the side. A strange roar came from the darkness ahead. Then the void broke open, and more than 10 black shadows rushed out. Whoosh! Accompanying them was a monstrous aura that covered the sky and earth. Suddenly, a violent wind blew, sand and stones flew, and lightning interweaved in the surroundings. It was a terrifying scene of destruction. Oh no, it's a beast! The invincible kings behind them also changed their expressions. "Hurry up and attack!" An old man roared and slashed out with a long sword in his hand. Boundless, sword Chi swept out like the Milky Way and slashed forward. The other invincible kings also attacked with all kinds of divine abilities. The void was torn open and the darkness rolled. The dozen or so black shadows also appeared in front of everyone. There were more than 10 bats, and each of them was a 9-star monster king. A gentle flap of their wings was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. "Oh no, it's the soul-devouring bats. Everyone be careful," Chi Siu shouted in a low voice. She also pulled out a silver longsword and swept it in all directions. The other invincible kings also moved quickly. In an instant, an earth-shattering battle broke out. On the other side, a red figure descended into the dark swamp. It was Lin Xian. The snow-white little monkey stood on his shoulder, looking very excited. The treasure bowl above its head shone with a mysterious light. From time to time, it would snatch spiritual fruits and spiritual herbs from the air. One's own line, the little white monkey, was very happy. Lin Xian activated his Tianji God eyes and scanned his surroundings. As his soul dispersed, his brows suddenly twitched. There was a chaotic energy ahead. It seemed like there was a battle going on. A dragon image appeared under Xiao Chen's feet, carrying him as he quickly flew forward. Up ahead, the divine abilities that filled the sky disappeared, and a bloody mist drifted about. More than 10 soul-devouring bats were smashed to pieces, and their corpses fell into the swamp and were swallowed up. Chi Siu heaved a sigh of relief. She had brought more than 30 invincible kings with her this time, and all of them were powerful. A dozen soul-devouring bats were nothing in their eyes. Boom! After dealing with these soul-devouring bats, Chi Siu and the rest continued forward. However, in the next moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out. Immediately after, a violent force once again came from the darkness ahead. It made one's soul tremble and one kneel down. Not good. Chi Siu stopped, and the 30 invincible kings behind her also looked serious. There were also demonic beasts. They knew that there were powerful demonic beasts guarding around the treasures. They thought that there were only a dozen soul-devouring bats before. Now, it seemed that it was not that simple. In the darkness, there was an even more terrifying existence. Boom! Boom! A deep sound rang out, and the roar was like 100,000 thunderbolts descending. An enormous figure walked out from the crowd. Not good, it was the demonic lightning ape. That was an extinct, mutated species of heaven and earth. Why would it appear here? The old man's pupils constricted. Chi Siu also became nervous. The demonic lightning ape was an extremely terrifying demonic beast king. Its physique was strong, and it could use the violent power of lightning. It had already gone extinct in the outside world. Who would have thought that there would be one hidden in this dark swamp? Don't worry, second miss, we have more people this time. Even if it's a mutated species of heaven and earth. So what? A middle-aged man snorted coldly. He had a long spear in his hand that was as ferocious as a dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. With a cold snort, the long spear swept out, turning into an eternal light that flew out. The spear pierced through the 9 heavens, and countless runes danced in the air, piercing towards the demonic lightning ape's head. Boom! A hint of disdain appeared in the demonic lightning ape's huge eyes. It opened its mouth and spat out a gust of demonic wind. Whoosh! A powerful storm tore the heavens and the earth, and it actually shattered the spear light into pieces. Not good. Quickly defend. The expressions of invincible kings and Chi Siu changed. They all activated their king domains to cover their bodies. Boom! 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 Earth-shattering collision sounds rang out. They felt as if 100,000 mountains had smashed onto their bodies, causing their bodies to tremble. These people kept retreating, and the blood in their bodies churned. Damn it! How could this beast be so strong? One of the invincible kings had an ugly expression. The others were even more frightened. Just a gust of demonic wind had caused them to be slightly injured. If they really fought, they were afraid that they would not be a match for the other party. As expected of an extinct, mutated species of heaven and earth, it was indeed strong. Chi Siu gripped the long sword in her hand tightly, turned her head, and said in a delicate voice, "Everyone, success or failure depends on this. Don't worry, second miss, we have already prepared. That's right, with that array, we can definitely kill this beast." Voices rang out one after another. Chi Siu nodded. She was not too worried because they had a set of array in their hands. With more than 30 invincible kings working together to use this array, the power of the array would definitely be beyond imagination. No matter how strong the thunder demonic ape was, it would not be able to withstand it. Buzz! Buzz! More than 30 invincible kings quickly formed the array. Array runes appeared under their feet and spread out in the dark swamp. A terrifying and ferocious aura completely enveloped the thunder demonic ape. Roar! The thunder demonic ape also let out a roar that shook the 9 heavens. The endless swamp cracked open, and the space kept shattering. He felt threatened, so he took the initiative to attack. Boom! A huge black claw fell from the sky, bringing with it a sky full of lightning. It smashed down like a thunder hammer. Suddenly, the array runes kept flickering. More than 30 invincible kings roared and instantly counterattacked. In the sky, 2 balls of energy collided rapidly and then exploded. The vast darkness was completely boiling. In the distance, Lin Xian was flying. Suddenly, he felt a violent energy fluctuation in front of him, and a piercing light burst out from his eyes. What a violent aura! It was much stronger than before. He wondered who it was. He stomped his foot and increased his speed again. Not long after, he saw an intense battle in front of him. Although the energy was violent, he could see it clearly with his heavenly secret god eyes. A black ape as tall as a mountain was constantly attacking, and every attack was accompanied by monstrous lightning. Thunder demonic ape. He did not expect that there would be such an existence on Cloud Return Planet. Lin Xian also revealed a trace of surprise. Chapter 31:22. Of course, he knew about these exotic beasts. Wu Ji on his shoulder. The little white monkey curled its lips in disdain, as if it didn't take the demonic thunder ape seriously at all. Lin Xian smiled and rubbed the little guy's head, then looked into the distance again. There were more than 30 figures around the demonic thunder ape, and they were all connected by a formation. Terrifying sword chi, tsunamis, and flames soared into the sky, bombarding the demonic thunder ape. It was a very powerful formation with more than 30 invincible kings working together. It seemed like they were a powerful force. Were these people hunting the demonic thunder ape? However, it made sense. After all, it was a rare exotic beast. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Suddenly, a piercing light burst out from his eyes. No, I can feel another aura. The little white monkey also flew up and floated in the air. It looked around and scratched its ears and cheeks. Buzz! Golden runes flashed in Lin Xian's eyes, and they could pierce through the 9 heavens and the earth. Suddenly, he saw a white fruit in the endless darkness. It was like a silkworm lying there. What's that? His heart beat wildly. Sky silkworm fruit. There was a sky silkworm fruit here. He was too excited because the sky silkworm fruit was an extremely important spiritual herb for refining the Saint Breakthrough Pill. Previously, he couldn't find it in the 1,000 Herb Hall. He originally thought that he would have to spend a lot of time and effort to get news of the Sky Silkworm Kingdom. He didn't expect to find one here. Moreover, judging from the aura and appearance of the Sky Silkworm fruit, it should be quite old, at least 5,000 years old. He had to get his hands on it. Lin Xian's eyes were burning, and the little white monkey beside him was also making noises. However, Lin Xian smiled and said, "Little guy, I can't let you eat this. I'll find another spiritual fruit for you." Huff! The little white monkey let out a breath, looking very unhappy. However, it soon nodded and stretched out a little paw, as if it was bargaining with Lin Xian. Lin Xian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "All right, I'll brew some supreme-grade spiritual wine for you." This little fellow was a drunkard. The little white monkey's expression was that of a deal. He began to activate the treasure basin, but soon he looked at Lin Xian and shook his head slightly. Was it too far away? All right, then let's get closer. Lin Xian's figure flickered as he rapidly approached. Roar! In front of them, the fierce battle was still going on. The thunder demonic ape was too powerful. Although more than 30 invincible kings had formed a formation, they were still unable to do anything to it. In fact, he was even showing signs of being suppressed. This made Qi Siyu very shocked. What kind of demonic beast was this? Wasn't it too terrifying? Fortunately, she had made sufficient preparations this time. Otherwise, she would have lost her life here if she had rushed forward rashly. Suddenly, the demonic lightning ape spat out 100,000 bolts of lightning. Its huge head looked into the distance as its body trembled slightly. What's going on? He felt a suppression coming from his bloodline. But how was that possible? What was there that could suppress him? He was an extraordinarily powerful, mutated species of heaven and earth. Was it an illusion? The demonic lightning ape snorted and turned around again. He stared at the despicable humans around him and began to attack. Qi Siyu also shouted. The invincible kings around her counterattacked crazily. Today they had to kill this beast here. They didn't notice that a figure was floating quickly and merging into the void, heading toward the darkness ahead. Is it done? Lin Xian asked. The little white monkey nodded and used the treasure basin again. The treasure basin emitted a mysterious power, and rays of golden light appeared on the little white monkey's body. Suddenly, there was an additional item in the treasure basin. It was the sky silkworm fruit. Got it. Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile as he prepared to leave. However, the demonic lightning ape that was fighting in front of them suddenly roared, and the aura on its body suddenly erupted. Streaks of blood red runes covered his black gold body. In the next moment, it completely blasted open the formation. More than 30 invincible kings were sent flying while vomiting blood. Qi Siyu also suffered a violent impact. She had the ancient mirror floating above her head, and thousands of rays of light shone down to save her life. Even so, the blood in her body was boiling, and her jade-like face was pale. Not good. This beast is going berserk. The invincible kings' bodies trembled. It was too terrifying. They couldn't defeat the other party, even when they worked together. Moreover, now that the other party had gone berserk, their lives were probably in danger. What surprised them was that after the demonic lightning ape went berserk, it didn't pay attention to them. Instead, it suddenly turned around and stared at the endless darkness ahead. Roar! He opened his mouth, and endless energy and lightning gathered to form a ball of lightning. He threw it forward. Boom! The ball of lightning carried a blood-red light. As soon as it appeared, more than 30 invincible kings and Qi Siyu all trembled. It was too terrifying. If the other party used this attack, they probably wouldn't be able to withstand it. Who was the other party attacking? They didn't know. In an instant, the ball of lightning tore through the void and crashed forward. Then it suddenly exploded. Not good, retreat. Qi Siyu and the invincible kings fled crazily. They quickly activated their armor and king domains to defend. Pooh! Whoosh! They were sent flying. Between heaven and earth, there was a vast expanse of white. Endless lightning surged as if the world was about to be destroyed. It lasted for a long time before it gradually subsided. The demonic lightning ape was still incomparably furious. Its eyes stared straight ahead. The invincible kings around it were even more seriously injured. Many of them even had half of their bodies shattered. Fortunately, they didn't die. At this moment, they quickly swallowed pills to recover their bodies. They floated in the void and watched from afar. What was that beast attacking? Chi Siu's expression was even more unsightly. Wasn't that where the sky silkworm fruit was? Could it be that the beast wanted to destroy the sky silkworm fruit? Or was there something wrong with the sky silkworm fruit? Thinking of this, her heart leaped to her throat. These people were extremely nervous. The demonic lightning ape roared uneasily. Its eyes were like rainbows, piercing through the void and staring straight ahead. In front of them, darkness rolled and thunder roared. It was a scene of destruction. However, in the end, the energy slowly dissipated. Then, the darkness was like a tide, slapping to both sides, and a figure appeared. That damned beast is so sharp. It actually discovered me. A young man in red appeared in the void, and a hint of surprise appeared on his face. There's someone in front. Chi Siu's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. The kings in the surroundings were also going crazy. When did someone go over? Why didn't they know? Could it be that the person stole the sky silkworm fruit, and that's why the demonic lightning ape is so angry? The old man said what he thought. Instantly, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Then anger appeared on their faces, and their eyes burned with anger. Damn it, we were fighting to the death with the demonic lightning ape, but someone stole the sky silkworm fruit. That made them very unhappy. That damned brat. We'll catch him later and teach him a lesson. The invincible king's expressions were cold. Chapter 30, 1:23. The demonic thunder ape roared. It could feel that the sky silkworm fruit had disappeared. It was the red-clothed young man in front of it. With a roar, it grabbed forward with its huge claws. Boom! Boom! The sound of thunder was heard as if a thunder mountain had fallen from the sky. I wanted to let you live, but since that's the case, you can be reincarnated. The red-clothed young man snorted as his eyes emitted a golden light. The next moment, he raised his finger and pointed forward. A ball of flame appeared on his fingertip. Then it shone brightly like a sun. A sword Chi flew out from the middle and soared into the sky. Boom! The lightning in the sky was torn apart. Nothing could stop the sword Chi. Roar! The demonic thunder ape roared uneasily and wanted to escape. However, the sword was too fast. In an instant, its head was chopped off. Puff! Demonic blood spurted out and dyed the sky red. The huge body collapsed. The head spun in the air, and the eyes on it were filled with fear. What? The demonic thunder ape was killed. Behind him, Chi Siu and the 30 undefeatable emperors were dumbfounded. Their bodies began to tremble. Who was this person? Was he a saint? They couldn't help but kneel down. One had to know that they were more than 30 kings and had formed a powerful formation. However, they couldn't do anything to the demonic thunder ape and were even suppressed. Moreover, when the demonic thunder ape went berserk, it directly injured them. But now, the young man in front of them killed such a terrifying demonic beast with a single finger. Thinking of this, their scalps went numb. Their anger from before also disappeared. Did the other party get the sky silkworm fruit by taking advantage of the situation? What a joke! The other party probably couldn't be bothered with the demonic thunder ape. Otherwise, he would have killed the demonic thunder ape and all of them. No one would have been able to escape. What? The snow-white monkey let out a cheerful cry. Its black eyes stared at the corpse of the demonic thunder ape in front of it. Lin Xian was surprised. Little guy, you're interested in this? Whitey let out a cry and rushed forward. The one who attacked just now was Lin Xian, but he didn't expect the snow-white monkey to have such a reaction. The next moment, even he was stunned. The snow-white monkey landed on the body of the demonic thunder ape, and the corpse began to tremble. Countless blood-colored runes appeared and surged into the snow-white monkey's body. That mountain-like body also slowly shrank before finally disappearing into thin air. It was actually being absorbed. Lin Xian was also surprised. It seemed that the little white monkey was indeed mysterious. He had previously speculated that the little white monkey should be a mutated species of heaven and earth. Moreover, it was extremely likely that it was a member of the royal family of the ancient royal family. However, he had seen quite a few of the far ancient royal race, but he had never seen one that was so similar to the little white monkey. Wuji, Wuji Whitey floated back shakily. Its little belly was bulging, as if it had eaten too much. Lin Xian was amused. He took it and placed it on his shoulder. Then he turned around and prepared to leave. Wait a minute. Right at this moment, a cry of surprise came from afar. Lin Xian stopped in his tracks and frowned slightly. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body. Immediately, more than 30 invincible kings behind him trembled. The old man even shouted, "Second miss, please don't be rash." He thought that Qi Siyu still wanted to snatch the spirit fruit. They knew that Qi Siyu was here to look for the sky silkworm fruit. Now that the sky silkworm fruit had been snatched away, the second miss of the Qi family would definitely not let the matter rest. However, these invincible kings were bitter. If it was an ordinary person, they would have gone up long ago. Even if it was someone at the perfected stage of the invincible realm, they would not be afraid. However, the young man in front of them was too strange. He killed a top archfiend king with a single finger, and the monkey beside him was even more mysterious. They must not provoke such a person. Otherwise, all of them would be annihilated. Qi Siyu ignored the old man's warning and said again, "Young master, please wait." At the same time, he turned into a stream of light and rushed forward. Sigh. Seeing this, the old man shook his head and sighed before following him. The surrounding 30 invincible kings also followed quickly. They could not let the second miss be in danger. Qi Siyu came to the front and asked quickly, "Young master, did you get the sky silkworm fruit?" He did not do it. Lin Xian nodded, slightly without hiding anything. He stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "The sky silkworm fruit is an ownerless item. Although you guys came here first, with your strength, you can't defeat the thunder demonic ape, let alone snatch the sky silkworm fruit. Therefore, I didn't snatch the sky silkworm fruit from your hands." Lin Xian had no grudges with these people, so he explained. If it were other experts, they would have killed them long ago. "I know that." Qi Siyu said, "Young master, the sky silkworm fruit is very important to me, so I'm willing to pay any price to buy it." "Young master, name a price. Cultivation techniques, mystical abilities, resources, as long as you name it, I'll definitely satisfy you." "Don't doubt me. I'm a disciple of the Qi family. With the Qi family's wealth, I won't let you down." "Oh, the Qi family." Lin Xian was stunned. If he remembered correctly, the force behind the 1,000 Herb Hall was the Qi family. He didn't expect to meet the Qi family as soon as he left the 1,000 Herb Hall. However, Lin Xian still shook his head slightly. "No need, the sky silkworm fruit is also very important to me. So no matter what price you offer, I won't give it away." He was right. The sky silkworm fruit was a very important spiritual herb to refine the saint breakthrough pill. How could Lin Xian give it away? Hearing this, the surrounding invincible kings were stunned and then became nervous. It seemed that neither side would give in. Would the second miss throw a tantrum at this time? Would she attack directly? If that was the case, they wouldn't be able to defeat the young man in front of them. Therefore, these people were extremely nervous. Qi Siyu was also stunned, and then her eyes dimmed. She didn't expect the other party to directly refuse without any room for negotiation. This made her heart fall into the abyss. Since there was no exchange and she couldn't defeat the other party, then this time they wouldn't be able to get the sky silkworm fruit. When she thought of the Qi family's patriarch's injury, Chi Siu felt extremely desperate. You seem to be determined to get the sky silkworm fruit. What's the reason? Lin Xian suddenly asked. He didn't want to bother at first, but he suddenly remembered that the Qi family was in existence, even more terrifying than the 1,000 herb hull. If the Qi family owed him a favor and helped him collect spiritual herbs, then the speed of collection would be greatly increased. Hearing Lin Xian's question, Qi Siu took a deep breath and quickly explained the matter. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The Qi family's patriarch is injured. What kind of injury is it? Chapter 31:24. We don't know either. It's been 300 years. We've invited countless experts and pill kings to treat him, but they're all helpless. I recently read about the sky silkworm fruit in an ancient book. It might be helpful for the patriarch's injuries, so I brought people to look for it. You're saying that your patriarch went to the fallen abyss 300 years ago? Then he was injured and never recovered, right? Lin Xian asked again. Qi Siu nodded. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He already had a guess in his heart. The fallen abyss was filled with demonic qi. He must have been injured or poisoned by some demonic creature. In the pill saint's notes, there happened to be a pill that could treat demonic qi or demonic poison. I wonder what benefits I'll get if I can cure your patriarch. Lin Xian asked indifferently. What? Qi Siu was stunned. Then her face became wild with joy. The more than 30 invincible kings were also stunned. They didn't expect things to turn around. Can you really cure our patriarch? Qi Siu's voice was trembling. Lin Xian said indifferently, Don't be too happy. According to your description, I only have a 50% chance. 50%? That was already a lot. As long as you can cure our patriarch, no matter what you want, my Qi family will definitely satisfy you. Is that so? What I want is very precious. Your Qi family might not be able to give it to me. Don't worry, young master. As long as you can cure him, my Qi family will do anything to satisfy you. Qi Siu clenched her fists. She had even decided to sacrifice herself. Even if the other party wanted her, she would agree. However, Lin Xian didn't have such thoughts. He narrowed his eyes. It seemed that the injured patriarch was very important to the Qi family. Since that was the case, it would be easy. He needed more than 1,300 spiritual herbs to refine the saint breakthrough pill. He already had 300 of them. He handed the rest to the 1,000 herb hall, Wangong, Haiyu, and the other families to collect. However, he knew that the 1,000 herb hall, Wangong, Haiyu, and the other families could only collect a portion at most. Among them, the sky silkworm fruit was extremely precious and rare. Those forces couldn't collect it at all. Perhaps only the Qi family could do it. All right, take me there then. I need to take a look at the Qi family's old ancestor's illness before I can make a conclusion. Young master, please. Qi Siu was very happy and quickly led the way. The 30 or so invincible kings also let out sighs of relief. Great, there was no need to fight. After all, they knew that the young man before them was a lot more terrifying than the lightning, demonic ape. The group of people exited the dark swamp and flew towards the distance at high speed. A few days later, they arrived at a spirit mountain. The old ancestor had specially chosen a place to heal himself. The scenery here wasn't bad. Qi Siu explained. Lin Xian looked around and nodded slightly. He could tell that this was not the Qi family's headquarters, but it didn't matter to him. Seeing that Lin Xian didn't say anything, Qi Siu didn't mind. Along the way, she had already figured out Lin Xian's temper. The mysterious young man before him didn't like to talk much. Therefore, Qi Siu quickly took out a small flag and waved it lightly. Immediately, the clouds below rolled and formed a path. Young master, please. Qi Siu led the way again. Lin Xian and the others followed behind. There were also many figures moving below. The second miss had returned. Exclamations could be heard. The second miss must have brought back the sky silkworm fruit. Our old ancestor can be saved. The Chi family warriors below were very excited. Sister, did you bring the sky silkworm fruit? A few young men also ran over with shining eyes. Chi Siu shook her head slightly. I didn't bring the sky silkworm fruit, but I found a way to cure the old ancestor. Chi Siu turned around and said respectfully, Young master, it's already late today. Why don't you rest here for the night? I'll bring you to see the old ancestor the next day. That's good too. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Next, Chi Siu personally led Lin Xian to stay in the Spirit Mountain. At night, in another hall of the Spirit Mountain, Chi Siu and many Chi family warriors gathered together. Although this was only the place where the old ancestor rested, there were many guards and experts here, far more than 1,000 herb hall. One could imagine how terrifying the Chi family was. Sister, you didn't bring the sky silkworm fruit? The sky silkworm fruit is in that kid's hands. You said he can save the old ancestor? As Chi Siu recounted what had happened, exclamations could be heard. They found it hard to believe. What right did a young man have to say such big words? One had to know that in the past 300 years, the Chi family had found many experts, but none of them could save the old ancestor. Every single one of those experts was a powerhouse who could suppress a region or a world-renowned alchemy king. However, they were helpless. What right did a very young kid have? Even the older experts' eyes flickered. At this moment, a young man stood up and said, Sister, I think that kid is just spouting nonsense. He wants to take advantage of our Chi family. Why don't we just attack and kill him? Take the sky silkworm fruit from him. As soon as he said that, the eyes of the Chi family's elders shone with a piercing, cold light. However, Chi Siu suddenly stood up and shook her head frantically. No. In addition to her, more than 30 invincible kings also stood up and hurriedly said, No, we can't do it. That kid is very powerful. They immediately recounted how Lin Xian killed the demonic thunder ape with a finger. Instantly, the entire hall fell silent. Even the few young men who had suggested to attack were so scared that they shrunk their necks. Some of them even had their legs trembling. According to Chi Siu, more than 30 invincible kings formed a powerful killing formation, but they could not do anything to the demonic thunder ape. Instead, they were killed in one move. The gap between them was simply too great. Could it be that this kid was some earth-shattering big shot? Many people were puzzled. Right at that moment, several people of the older generation looked to Chi Siu. Second miss, what do you plan to do? Chi Siu took a deep breath and said, Don't provoke Lin Gongzi. All of you, serve me well. Whoever dares to provoke him, don't blame me for being rude. Although Chi Siu was only the second miss, her status was much more honorable. As soon as she said that, the martial artists in the hall did not dare to be presumptuous anymore. The next day, Chi Siu waited outside Lin Xian's door early in the morning. She did not rush him. Instead, she waited quietly like this. Behind her, there were still some other martial artists following. Some were young and some were elders. These people were very shocked. They had never seen the second miss wait so respectfully for someone. Other than facing their injured ancestor, this was the first time. Chapter 31:25. Especially those young warriors. Although they had heard that Lin Xian was very powerful, they had not seen it with their own eyes. Therefore, they did not believe it very much. At this moment, they looked a little dissatisfied. However, with Chi Siu here, they did not dare to be presumptuous. They knew very well how powerful their second sister was. The group of people waited just like that. After about 2 hours, the door in front of them slowly opened. Lin Xian walked out in his red robe. Lin Gongzi, you're awake. A smile appeared on Qi Siyu's face instantly. The older generation and the younger martialists behind her couldn't stop looking at Lin Xian. Those elders were extremely surprised that they could not see through Lin Xian's strength. This shocked them. As for those young warriors, they curled their lips and looked disdainful. What's the big deal? They did not feel any terrifying aura from him. Lin Xian did not care about these people's gazes. How could these people understand his realm? He looked at Qi Siyu and said indifferently, "All right, take me to see your ancestor." "Young master, this way please." Qi Siyu led the way in front. After walking for a while, Qi Siyu stopped. There was a lake in front of them and a small bamboo house next to it. There were spiritual herbs, spiritual flowers, and spiritual bamboo planted in it. It was a peaceful and quiet scene, completely different from the golden splendor outside. "The ancestor is inside," Qi Siyu said. Then she asked the people behind her to wait while she and Lin Xian walked in. In front of the lake, there was an old man with white hair. He was holding a fishing rod in his hand and seemed to be fishing. This scene, he looked like an ordinary old farmer and did not look like the ancestor of a big family at all. When Lin Xian saw the other party, a golden light appeared in his eyes. The other party was like him and did not emit any terrifying aura. This old man was at least a half-saint. He felt a shocking power from the other party. That power was even more powerful than the power of Tao. However, it was different from the power of a saint that he felt. Therefore, he guessed that it should be a half-saint. A half-saint was already a terrifying existence. After all, saints were existences that transcended the heavens and earth. There weren't many of them. Moreover, most of them chose to cultivate in seclusion to break through to a higher realm. It could be said that there were very few walking saints. Most of them were used as a foundation to suppress others. Just like the dark turmoil that Lin Xian had experienced previously, countless saints had attacked, and even super saints had descended. Such a scene could be said to be hard to come by in millions of years. A half-saint was already a terrifying existence. Hearing the sound of footsteps, the old man in front turned his head. "See you are here." However, when he saw an unfamiliar young man standing beside Qi Siyu, he was slightly taken aback. "Is this the Lin Gongzi you were talking about?" He naturally knew that Qi Siyu had found a young man to treat his illness. However, he hadn't expected this young man to be so young. In his opinion, the other party should be at least a few hundred years old, but he didn't expect that to be the case. The other party was truly very young, so young that he found it hard to believe. Did such a person really have the ability to cure him? He was very doubtful. However, in the next moment, the old man's pupils constricted, revealing a trace of shock. "Old man, if I'm not wrong, you should have been injured by the Yin demon, right?" After the old man heard that, his expression changed instantly, and his robe fluttered without any wind. A terrifying aura surged out, as if a peerless beast had awakened. The other party had seen through it at a glance. How could he not be shocked? One had to know that even Qi Siyu didn't know about this. As expected, Qi Siyu's face was blank. However, when she saw the expression on her family's patriarch's face, she knew that she had found the right person. "Lin Gongzi, this way please. I hope you can forgive me for not being a good host." The Qi family's patriarch waved his hand, and immediately, a table made of 3,000-year-old Suzuki wood flew out from his storage ring. On it were 2 teacups and a pot of tea. The teacups and teapot were made of rare divine crystals. They were crystal clear and carried a strong power. "This is 7,000-year-old spiritual tea. Lin Gongzi, have a taste." As he spoke, the Qi family's patriarch personally poured a cup of spiritual tea for Lin Xian. Qi Siyu stood respectfully at the side. Lin Xian sat down casually, took a sip, and nodded slightly. Not bad, it was indeed good tea. There were many types of spiritual tea, especially the precious ones. A 7,000-year-old spiritual tea was very rare. Lin Gongzi was flattered. This was nothing compared to those top-grade spiritual teas. It couldn't even compare to the legendary Enlightenment tea. Enlightenment tea. Lin Xian was also surprised when he heard that. He knew that this was an extremely precious spiritual tea. Ordinary people couldn't taste it at all. Not to mention them, even saints couldn't taste it at all, because legend had it that only emperors could enjoy it. It was said that there was an enlightenment tea in the true spirit world. However, it was in a forbidden zone that even saints didn't dare to enter. Perhaps only a true great emperor would be able to enter the forbidden zone and obtain the Tao comprehending tea. After drinking a cup of spiritual tea, the Qi family's patriarch asked in a deep voice, "Lin Gongzi, how did you know that I was injured by the Yin demon?" This was something that even Siyu didn't know about. Lin Xian smiled faintly. "I heard from Siyu that you were injured because you fell into the abyss. The demonic Qi there was extremely terrifying. With your skills, it definitely wasn't an ordinary place. Although you looked normal on the surface, there was a black demonic rune flickering in your body. After thinking about it, I guessed that it was the Yin demon. This thing was extremely terrifying. It was formed after tens of thousands of years. Even a half-sage or saint might not be able to remove it. That was why the Qi family's patriarch had been tortured for the past 300 years, to the point of despair. To be honest with Lin Gongzi, if he couldn't be cured, the old man could only live for another 10 years. That was true. Lin Xian could feel that the blood in the old man's body had dried up. He could only live for another 10 years or so. However, he only smiled confidently. "Don't worry. If it was other things, I wouldn't have much confidence. But this is the Yin demon? I have 100% confidence that I can cure you." Hearing that, the Qi family's patriarch's hand trembled, spilling the spiritual tea. Qi Siyu's mouth was wide open in disbelief. Their Qi family's patriarch was a half-sage. He had lived for more than 2,000 years and had seen all kinds of storms. But now his hand was trembling. One could imagine how shocked he was. Lin Gongzi was telling the truth. The Qi family's patriarch emitted a terrifying aura again. His eyes were like divine lamps shining brightly. Chapter 31:26. Lin Xian smiled. "Of course it's true. As long as you refine a pill, your Yin demon will disappear." "A pill? What pill? Could it be that you're an alchemist?" The Qi family patriarch was shocked. Lin Xian nodded. "That's right, I'm an alchemist. However, this medicinal pill is incomparably precious. Thus, the Qi clan will have to prepare the ingredients for the concoction." "No problem. Although the Qi family isn't the most powerful family, it's still a big family. We can still take out the spiritual herbs." The Qi family patriarch was very confident. Lin Xian took out a jade slip and used his soul to engrave the information of the spiritual herbs on it. After the Qi family patriarch took it, his face changed. "Patriarch, what's wrong?" Qi Siyu, who was standing by the side, was also very puzzled. She also used her soul to enter the jade slip. In the next moment, she exclaimed because she realized that the spiritual herbs in the jade slip were too precious, especially the most important one, the red sun ebony. It was a type of tree that was rumored to be the tree where the golden crow stayed. The golden crow was a mythical beast in the legends, along with the qilin and the phoenix. It was too difficult to find such a thing. Other than the red sun ebony, the other spiritual herbs were also extremely precious. No wonder Lin Xian said to let the Qi family prepare it themselves. Because even Lin Xian couldn't take out such a thing, the Qi family could only rely on themselves. "Why is it difficult?" Lin Xian asked. The Qi family patriarch took a deep breath and clenched his fist. No, the Qi family can still find it. One had to know that with his half-sage cultivation, it wouldn't be a problem for him to live for another 1 or 2,000 years. If he couldn't cure his illness, he could only live for another 10 years. The difference between them was like the difference between heaven and earth. Therefore, not to mention the red sun golden ebony, even if it was the legendary divine medicine. He would spare no effort to find it. Lin Xian nodded and then continued. Other than the red sun ebony, it's best to prepare 3 sets of the other spiritual herbs, because this is my first time refining it. The Qi family patriarch understood that no matter how strong an alchemist was, there was still a chance of failure. Therefore, most alchemists would prepare a few more batches of spirit herbs. Lin Xian did the same. He had also collected 3 portions of the breakthrough sage elixir. Don't look at the 3 portions if other alchemists knew about it. They would definitely be shocked. That was because the higher the grade of the pill, the harder it was to refine. The success rate was 1% or even 1 in 1,000. In other words, there might not even be 1 success rate out of 1,000. The fact that Lin Xian had collected 3 sets meant that he was confident that he could increase the success rate to 1/3. This was already very heaven-defying. The pill that Lin Xian wanted to refine was called the Red Sun Golden Crow Pill. This was a type of pill recorded in the Pill Saint's notes. According to the records in the notebook, there was someone who was injured by the Yin Devil in the past. Moreover, that person was a saint, which was even more terrifying than a half-saint. In the end, he consumed the Crimson Sun Golden Crow Pill and successfully healed his injuries, eliminating the Yin demon. Therefore, Lin Xian was now full of confidence. He could even heal a saint's injuries, let alone a half-saint's. Then Lin Xian left. Although the Qi family was large, it would take a long time to collect all these pills. Lin Xian would not keep waiting. He wanted to go to other places to collect the spirit herbs for the breakthrough sage pill. Before leaving, Qi Siyu gave him a voice transmission jade pendant so that he could contact her at any time. She also asked where Lin Gongzi had been recently. He would not go far in the next few months. By the way, I heard that there will be a grand event at the Tianfeng Pavilion in a few months. I might go. Tianfeng Pavilion? Qi Siyu said with a smile after hearing that. Young master, do you have an invitation? Lin Xian was stunned. Why did he need an invitation? Indeed, he needed an invitation. The Tianfeng Pavilion was a grand event organized by a top family. Therefore, without an invitation, ordinary martial artists could not enter. So there was such a thing. Lin Xian was surprised. He had only heard about it from the woman in the black dress. He did not expect there to be a requirement to enter. Qi Siyu said with a smile, "Don't worry, the Qi family is behind the Tianfeng Pavilion. When the time comes, you can just say my name and enter." Really? That would be much more convenient. Lin Xian nodded. It seemed that the Qi family was still very powerful on this continent. Then Lin Xian left. Qi Siyu also hurried back to the Qi family. She wanted to use all her power to collect the spirit herbs needed for alchemy. The matter of the 1,000-herb hall and the Qi family could be said to be a small ripple in the entire cloud-returning planet. However, a few days later, an even bigger tsunami swept across the entire cloud-returning planet. The Nether King of the Sirius star came to the cloud-returning planet and challenged the top geniuses of the various sects and families. He swept in all directions. Even the top geniuses of the cloud-returning planet were no match for him. They could not even block a single move. For a moment, everyone was in a panic. The elders and sect leaders of the large sects and families were also shocked. They were here. They were finally here. The top geniuses of the ancient road of stars had finally arrived. They knew that before the Nether King, some geniuses of the ancient road of stars had already arrived. However, these people were all secretly challenging, cultivating, or visiting. Very few people were so powerful that they could directly go against the entire stellar realm. Humph, the Nether King, right? What's there to be arrogant about? I'll fight. Soon, someone walked out. He was also a genius who was qualified to step onto the ancient road of stars, but he had not gone yet. I didn't expect to meet someone like you before I leave. I'll kill you and then step onto the ancient road of stars." At this moment, a genius of the cloud returning planet spoke. Immediately, the warriors of the cloud returning planet were all excited. Gao Peng, it was actually him. Wasn't he already prepared to leave the cloud returning planet and step onto the ancient road of stars? It seemed that he had not left yet. Perhaps his battle with another king would be his last battle on the cloud returning planet. Haha, that nether king is definitely dead. Gao Peng was a very terrifying existence. That's for sure. There are many geniuses on the cloud returning planet. How could the nether king provoke us? Just wait, that nether king is definitely dead. For a moment, the people of the cloud returning planet were excited. Indeed, they really needed a genius to step forward. Because after the nether king arrived, he had swept through all directions, causing the young geniuses of the cloud returning planet to tremble. They were almost in despair. Fortunately, Gao Peng was here. 3 days later, the battle at Tianqiong Peak. This news swept through the entire cloud returning planet like a hurricane. In an instant, countless experts were excited and rushed to Tianqiong Peak. Tianqiong Peak was an extremely tall mountain peak that pierced into the clouds. It led to the heavenly palace. At this moment, the surroundings of Tianqiong Peak were packed with people. They were like dark clouds, and on Tianqiong Peak stood a figure. Chapter 31:27. It was a very young man. He was tall and straight, had a handsome face, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were like the stars in the 9 heavens, flickering with incomparable light. He was clad in pitch-black armor and held a black battle spear in his hand. There were blood-red patterns on the spear, forming a mysterious pattern. With a light wave, it cut through the void. It was as if this spear had killed countless experts. He was the Nether King. He was the young genius who had been in the limelight recently. He came from outside the realm and had arrived in a domineering manner. It was rumored that the geniuses of the sacred grounds and top families could not even block one of his moves. Everyone knew that this was a true dragon, a genius who came from the ancient path of stars. Fortunately, they were not worried now, because Gao Peng was about to make a move. Gao Peng was also very famous on Cloud Returning Planet. It could even be said that the mention of his name could make people tremble in fear. On Heaven's Vault Peak, the Nether King looked around and frowned slightly. Is he not here yet? Could it be that he doesn't dare to come? His voice reverberated in all directions. Instantly, the hearts of the surrounding cultivators jumped wildly. What a terrifying aura. Just this voice alone made their aura churn as if they were about to explode. Damn it, don't be arrogant. How could Gao Peng not dare to come? That's right, just you wait. When Gao Peng comes, you will definitely lose. Noisy! The Nether King's cold wind blew, and immediately the few people who spoke kept retreating and vomiting blood. It was too terrifying. Just a glance from the other party had seriously injured them. For a moment, the surroundings were terrifyingly silent. No one dared to be in the limelight. Among the crowd, a red-robed young man stood in the void, looking forward with flickering eyes. Is this the Nether King? He was very strong. The aura he was displaying now was not weaker than Huangfu Beitian. However, he did not know if the other party had comprehended the power of the Tao. If not, then they were not his match at all. If he had comprehended it, he would not be afraid. For example, in the extraordinary warrior residence, Jun Wuya, Han Fei, and Yulinglong had all comprehended this power, but they were still not his match. Even the North Demon had lost to him. In addition, he had comprehended the sage's former residence and the Cliff of Enlightenment some time ago, so his strength had become much stronger than before. I wonder if this Nether King can pique my interest? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Boom! Boom! A thunderous voice came from afar. A figure with boundless chi waves tore through the void and rushed over. Here it comes. Everyone was shocked and raised their heads to look. Lin Xian also squinted his eyes to watch. A silhouette flew over from afar and arrived near Tianchongfeng in an instant. His aura was extremely powerful, suppressing the surroundings. It wasn't Gao Peng. However, after seeing the figure, many people exclaimed. They realized that the person who came was not Gao Peng. The Fire Crow King, it was actually him. Everyone exclaimed again. He and Gao Peng were good friends. Although the Fire Crow King's strength was inferior to Gao Peng's, it wasn't too far off either. Gao Peng didn't come, but the Fire Crow King did. Are you Gao Peng? In front of him, the Nether King's eyes emitted a cold light. In the void, the man covered in flame runes snorted coldly. I'm not Brother Gao Peng. I'm the Fire Crow King. Brother Gao Peng is on his way here. I'll play with you first. After saying that, he let out a long howl, and a pair of flame wings appeared on his back, covering the sky and earth. The powerful chi waves made everyone retreat frantically. The entire sky was enveloped by an endless sea of fire. Isn't it Gao Peng? The Nether King frowned, but when he felt the other party's aura, he smiled. Good, the aura is not bad. It's worth my time. Come. The war spear in his hand turned into a pitch-black light that shattered the void. Let me see what ability you have to be arrogant on Cloud Return Planet. The Fire Crow King roared angrily and his aura rose again. Too terrifying. Retreat quickly. Everyone retreated tens of thousands of miles away. They felt that it wasn't enough, so they retreated hundreds of thousands of miles away. Then they heaved a sigh of relief. This distance was a little far, but it wasn't a problem for these King Realm experts. They could see everything clearly. Even the weaker ones could only observe through the array. In short, everyone was paying attention. The Fire Crow King let out a long howl, and the two pairs of wings on his back turned into flaming heavenly blades that slashed over. Humph! A mere ant dares to be arrogant in front of me? The Nether King sneered. He didn't make a move at all. In front of him, endless black energy spread out, forming a black barrier with a terrifying aura surging on it. Clang! The two flaming wings that were thousands of miles long slashed on the black barrier, emitting a thunderous sound. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Countless large cracks and storms swept in all directions. However, what shocked everyone was that the black barrier didn't shatter at all. There wasn't even a crack. What? The Fire Crow King was stunned, his expression filled with disbelief. How could the other party be so powerful? On the other side, the Nether King revealed a cold smile. Is this your strength? You're really trash. Speaking up to here, his finger moved slightly. Instantly, endless runes spread out on the black barrier, turning into a black longsword that slashed forward. Pooh! Ah! Blood splattered, and the two pairs of flaming wings were cut off. Endless feathers and blood scattered in all directions. Those who were watching the battle from afar were all stunned. Many people were so frightened that they knelt on the ground, trembling. The Fire Crow King was injured. In just one move, the Fire Crow King's wings were cut off. This made them feel that it was inconceivable. Many people were even filled with despair. They knew that the Fire Crow King was also a prodigy who was qualified to step on the ancient path of the starry sky. However, in front of the other party, he was as weak as an ant. Buzz! The black demonic sword once again entered the black barrier, disappearing along with the barrier. From the beginning to the end, the Nether King stood on Tianqiong Peak without moving, like a peerless demon king. What Fire Crow King? He couldn't even withstand a single blow. If Gao Feng was also this strong, then there was no need for him to come. This kind of trash isn't worthy of fighting with me. The Nether King snorted coldly. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, everyone was trembling. Those people of the older generation also had sighs on their faces. This Nether King was really too terrifying. He was definitely a prodigy of the current era. Such a terrifying Fire Crow King was actually heavily injured by a single move. Why do I feel that Gao Peng is also dangerous? Impossible. Gao Peng is much stronger than the Fire Crow King. Yes, that's right. I heard that Gao Peng recently had a breakthrough. He will definitely be able to defeat the Nether King. Everyone cheered themselves on. Lin Xian stood in the void, his eyes flickering. This was a little interesting. He was becoming more and more interested in this Nether King. However, now wasn't the time for him to make a move. His soul sensed an extremely terrifying power rushing over from afar. Chapter 30, 128. After a while, many kings suddenly exclaimed, "Someone was coming." What a terrifying aura! Many people raised their heads to look. The next moment, they began to tremble. Countless people were pressed to the ground, unable to move. Some powerhouses also raised their heads in horror. Gao Peng was here. Heavens, his aura was even more terrifying than before. Some people who had seen Gao Peng before were terrified. Was he here? On Tianchong Peak, the Nether King also raised his head, drawing two black rays of light that pierced through the void. A tall figure descended from the sky. Gao Peng was here. Countless people screamed. They felt that they saw hope. "Brother Gao Peng, you're here." Beside him, a slightly weak voice said. Gao Peng turned his head and saw that the Fire Crow King was covered in blood. The wings on his back had dimmed, and he immediately frowned. "You're injured?" He turned his head, and the killing intent on his body spread out like the wind. Boom! The void within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles instantly shattered. "Retreat! Retreat again! Retreat 1,000,000 miles away!" Countless people screamed in horror. They retreated 1,000,000 miles away as if they had gone mad. There was nothing they could do. The void where they were originally standing had shattered, forming countless black holes. "You're the Nether King?" In front, Gao Peng frowned. Gao Peng was a tall and handsome man. His body was like a dragon, full of strength. What a terrifying physique! Many people exclaimed. Yes, Gao Peng was the top genius of the Tiangang sect. His Tiangang body was absolutely terrifying. No one in the Invincible King realm could compare to his physique. Lin Xian heard the discussion around him and frowned. Tiangang sect? If he remembered correctly, the arrogant Wan Gong from before seemed to be a disciple of the Tiangang sect. A golden light appeared in his eyes as he looked forward and nodded slightly. Indeed, he saw that although Gao Peng's body was very different from Wan Gang's body, their auras were extremely similar. Thinking about it, they should have cultivated the same body refining technique. It should be the heavenly tough body that these people were talking about. Heavenly tough body? That was interesting. Lin Xian was looking forward to it. In front, the Nether King also spoke. "You're Gao Peng?" "That's right, I am." Gao Peng's voice was like thunder, reverberating in all directions. "You injured countless paragons of my cloud return planet. Truly arrogant to the extreme. Do you really think that no one in the younger generation of my cloud returning planet can control you? Today, I will let you know how powerful I am." He stomped his foot, and instantly the space beneath him shattered. His powerful physique made everyone scream. When the Fire Crow King saw this scene, it spread its wings and flew into the distance. He knew that Gao Peng was angry. Gao Peng's anger was absolutely terrifying. That Nether King will regret it. Whoa! Two beams of black light shot out from the Nether King's eyes. They were like two sharp swords slicing through the void. Even the Invincible Kings who were 1,000,000 miles away were trembling in fear. It was too terrifying. Just a glance was enough to penetrate them. However, Gao Peng didn't dodge at all. He laughed loudly, and mysterious runes appeared on his body. He was like a supreme overlord standing in the void. With a clang, two black rays of light collided with his body, causing a thunderous vibration. The surrounding void quickly shattered, but Gao Peng's body was unscathed. In fact, it became even more resplendent. It's useless. My Big Dipper body is unparalleled. Your attack definitely won't be able to break it. Gao Peng was very confident. Interesting. The Nether King also revealed a trace of surprise. Big Dipper body? You are too ignorant. There are many famous physiques on the ancient starry sky path. For example, the sacred physique, the Tao physique, the battle physique, and the spirit physique. I have never heard of a Big Dipper body. If you had a sacred physique, I might be a little afraid. But you have a mere Big Dipper body. How dare you be arrogant in front of me? You really don't know what death is. You are courting death. Gao Peng roared. With a roar, he charged forward. Everywhere he passed, everything shattered. Nothing could stop his footsteps. He naturally knew how powerful the sacred physique that the other party mentioned was. That was a physique that was extremely famous in the myriad of worlds. However, that physique was innate. He didn't have that kind of bloodline physique, but he was incomparably confident in himself. His Big Dipper body was cultivated step by step. During this process, he had experienced endless life and death situations. He had used the blood of countless monster kings to temper his body since he was young. Now he was confident that his physique was definitely not inferior to a sacred physique. Combat physique. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. The Nether King's lips curled into a cold smile. He took a step forward and also charged forward. With a bang, the two collided. It was like a raging wave hitting the shore, causing heaven and earth to shatter. Countless rays of light shrouded the entire sky, emitting a rumbling sound. Boom! 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 Both of them didn't use any magic or weapons. Just like that, their fists and palms collided, resisting with pure physical strength. Millions of miles away, the kings and older generation figures watched in horror. Many people began to tremble. Heavens, these two are too terrifying. Their pure physical strength can kill a group of invincible kings. Yes, an old man smiled bitterly. I'm afraid I can't even block a punch from them. He was also a famous, invincible king. But he realized that in front of these two young men, he couldn't resist at all. The other young geniuses were even more shocked. The two of them were really like peerless beasts. How could their physiques be so strong? Just wait and see. The Nether King will definitely suffer. That's right, Gao Peng's big senior brother is so powerful. How could that guy resist? Those who spoke were the geniuses of the Big Dipper sect. They had arrogant faces. In the crowd of spectators, Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He didn't think so. This Nether King was not ordinary. Now that he was also fighting Gao Peng with his physique, it meant that the Nether King's physique was very strong. It was not inferior to the Big Dipper body at all. As expected, other experts also noticed this. Look, the Nether King is actually fighting Gao Peng with his physique. This is impossible. The people of the Big Dipper sect screamed. They couldn't believe it. However, the truth was happening in front of them. For a moment, the geniuses of the Big Dipper sect were stunned. Gao Peng was also very surprised. How was this possible? Endless waves of emotions surged in his heart. Indeed, the two of them had already exchanged blows. It was a contest of pure physical strength. If it was another invincible king, Gao Peng was confident that he could kill him with a punch. But now, the other party was not at a disadvantage. Even now, his arm was faintly numb. How could the other party's physique be so strong? Why are you surprised? The Nether King sneered. Do you think your Big Dipper body is strong? In front of me, it's just so. I cultivate the treasure body of the Nether King. Chapter 30:129. My treasure body isn't something your heavenly steel body can compare to. Speaking of this, the Nether King's eyes burst out with a cold light. In the next moment, endless runes erupted on his fist. Bang! The power of this punch was extremely terrifying and directly blasted Gao Peng back. Gao Peng retreated tens of thousands of miles, the blood in his body churning. Not good. Gao Peng was forced back. What? This is impossible. Damn it, with Gao Peng's physique and strength, he was actually suppressed. Those people in the distance were all stunned. The Fire Crow King was the same. He knew how powerful Gao Peng was. However, he didn't expect Gao Peng to be at a disadvantage in terms of physique and strength. I've seen your physique, it's only SO. Do you have any other supernatural powers? If not, then you can die. The Nether King's voice was cold. Don't be arrogant. Just now it was just a probing attack. I didn't use my full strength. Gao Peng suppressed the blood in his body. The battle intent in his eyes became deeper and deeper. With a loud shout, the endless runes on his body quickly erupted, causing him to shine like a god of war. Boom, boom, boom. The surrounding space trembled again, and countless people knelt on the ground with a bang. Gao Peng's physique became stronger again. Many people screamed. Haha, I knew it, senior brother Gao. Peng didn't use his full strength just now. This is the true power of the heavenly steel body. You're very strong, and your physique is beyond my expectations. But now, I'll let you see the true heavenly steel body. At this moment, Gao Peng was like a sharp sword unsheathed, incomparably powerful. Buzz! The void shattered, and Gao Peng used his extreme speed to charge forward. In an instant, he arrived in front of the Nether King. This speed frightened everyone. They couldn't catch him at all. Die for me! The terrifying fist carried runes that filled the sky as it blasted towards the Nether King's head. The speed wasn't bad, and the strength was enough, but it was still not enough. The Nether King didn't dodge at all, his eyes filled with disdain. In the next moment, the mysterious black barrier appeared in front of him again. Boom! When the punch landed on the black barrier, it caused an earth-shattering sound to ring out. The black barrier rolled like waves, but it didn't shatter. What? It was blocked. Gao Peng, Kongmeng, what was this thing? He was actually able to block his attack. One had to know that he wasn't holding back at all. However, in the next moment, his hair stood on end, and he quickly dodged. Just as he left the place where he had been standing, he was pierced by a sharp black sword. There was blood dripping from the black liuha. It was as if it had rushed out from the abyss of hell. After the attack missed, the black demonic sword changed direction in the air and attacked Gao Peng again. Throughout the entire process, the Nether King did not move at all. Damn it! How dare you look down on me? Gao Peng was furious. Heaven and earth-shattering fist. His eyes shone with a cold light as he unleashed a peerless fist technique and attacked. With a boom, the black demonic sword was sent flying. At the same time, he arrived in front of the black barrier again and shattered it with 3 punches. That's great. Gao Peng was overjoyed that he had finally broken through his opponent's barrier. Next, he would break his opponent's body. Thinking of this, Gao Peng let out a long roar, and the light on his body became even brighter. His fist was like an ancient mountain as it blasted forward. Humph! The Nether King scoffed coldly. Interesting, but it was still not enough. The black halberd in his hand vibrated gently. Boundless killing intent swept in all directions, and all the living beings within 1,000,000 miles of the sky trembled. It turned into a black light in the air and slashed forward. With a boom, it crashed into Gao Peng. Boom! 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 Dazzling light burst out, and the world was covered in white. Nothing could be seen. Poof! Boom! Boom! How was the battle situation? Everyone waited anxiously. Suddenly, they saw a figure flying out and crashing into the light that filled the sky. Blood dyed the sky red. It was Gao Peng. Gao Peng was actually injured. Many people exclaimed, and the people of the Tiangang sect fainted from fright. How was this possible? The top genius of the Tiangang sect was actually injured. That was Gao Peng. His physique was strong, and his strength was terrifying. He was famous among the younger generation of the entire cloud-returning planet. In fact, countless people of the older generation felt that they were inferior. But now, such a genius had been so easily injured by the other party. The Fire Crow King's pupils constricted, and he was so scared that his body turned cold. Previously, the Nether King had injured him without making a move. Now that he saw the other party use a weapon, he was scared out of his wits. If he faced this attack, he would probably be split in half in an instant, right? How was this possible? Gao Peng looked at the crack on his hand that spread all the way to his arm. He frowned, and his eyes were filled with shock. His Tiangang body had actually been broken. What exactly was the black weapon in the other party's hand? The others also noticed this, and instantly, countless people began to discuss. That weapon was too terrifying. It was definitely a half-saint artifact, and not an ordinary one. This guy cheated, and he didn't use his own strength. Countless people screamed. However, the top experts shook their heads. Cheating? That might not be the case. The weapon itself was a part of one's strength. If possible, Gao Peng could use any weapon. This did not restrict him. In front, the Nether King put away the black halberd in his hand, and his eyes were filled with disdain. You can't even block one of my attacks. You're too useless. I actually waited for a few days for a piece of trash like you. How despicable. To be honest, he had some confidence in Gao Peng because the entire cloud-returning planet was filled with legends about him. But now he was full of disappointment. The other party couldn't even block one of his attacks. What right did such a person have to make him use his true strength? Despicable. Don't look down on me. Gao Peng snorted coldly. The light runes on his body circulated and healed the wound. In the next moment, he stood up again. I originally had some trump cards that I wanted to use when I ascended the ancient path of the stars, but I didn't expect to meet you now. Since that's the case, fine. I'll let you know my true strength. Speaking of this, Gao Peng's eyes were filled with excitement. This power was also something that he had recently mastered. With this power, his strength would undergo an earth-shattering change. He believed that once this power was used, not many people would be his match, unless it was someone who had truly stepped into that realm. Otherwise, among the invincible kings, he could laugh at the 9 heavens. Gao Peng had not used his full strength? Hearing this, those people were also stunned. That shouldn't be. Gao Peng's heavenly tough body had already been used to the extreme? Could it be that this guy had some fortuitous encounter recently and obtained a new trump card? Everyone was shocked. Those from the Tiangang sect were even more nervous. Eldest senior brother Gao Peng, you must not lose. You still have a trump card? Then let's use it. This time, don't disappoint me again. The Nether King said indifferently. Chapter 3130. He no longer had any illusions about the other party, so even if he heard that the other party had a trump card, he didn't care at all. Humph. You will pay the price for your ignorance and carelessness. Gao Peng shouted coldly. A sharp light burst out from his eyes. A terrifying aura appeared on his body. Those runes spun quickly and then changed. Between heaven and earth, there was a mysterious aura spreading. What kind of power was this? Everyone's hearts were beating wildly, as if they were being torn apart. Gao Peng, who was in front, was still the same, not moving. However, they seemed to find that Gao Peng was like a god, high and mighty, looking down at them. What was going on? The young prodigies were all stunned. They had never felt this way before. Those older generation figures were also breathing rapidly, and many of their faces were flushed red. Suddenly, someone screamed. Could it be that kind of power? Gao Peng had actually comprehended that kind of power. As soon as these words came out, the young warriors were at a loss, while those older generation figures were all injected with chicken blood. Was it really that kind of power? Gao Peng would definitely win. They didn't expect Gao Peng to be so amazing. At this age, He had comprehended that kind of power. He was definitely a heaven-defying monster. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes as he sensed the power. A smile appeared on his face. He was no stranger to this power, because this was a power that was close to Tao. Originally, he also thought that this battle was over. He didn't expect Gao Peng to have comprehended this kind of power. However, looking at the other party's power that was close to Tao, it wasn't very stable. He should have just obtained it not long ago. The young geniuses around asked one after another. When they learned that this was a power that was close to Tao, they were all stunned. The next moment they screamed. The power that was close to Tao, this was the comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth. Gao Peng had already reached that step. Countless people were shocked and envious. This was the first step to becoming a sage, and many older generation experts were stuck at this step, unable to break through. They didn't expect Gao Peng to do it at such a young age. Great, senior brother Gao Peng is definitely an invincible existence. Yes, that Lord Ming is dead for sure. Haha, once the power that was close to Tao is released, even if that person has a peerless weapon in his hand, he can't block it. That's right, Gao Peng had indeed comprehended a power that was close to Tao, and what he comprehended was the Tao of strength. At this moment, his body became stronger again. It had already surpassed the invincible king level, reaching an inconceivable height. With a light wave of his arm, heaven and earth, he once again used his peerless fist, Lord Ming the corners of the Nether King's mouth, curled up into a cold smile. Was this the power of the Tao? The black spear in his hand descended from the sky like a river of the underworld. It was precisely such a blow that had injured Gao Peng. Thus, when they saw him again, everyone became nervous. However, they had confidence in Gao Peng. Sure enough, with a dang sound, a world-shaking sound rang out. The black war spear was beaten back. Gao's pung pung pung, that's great. The power that was close to the Tao caused Gao Peng's strength to undergo an earth-shaking change. He pung pung Lord at this moment, Ti ping pong. Divine, divine God, Lord's power. Lord's divine's pung, the swung his fist again and slammed it into the Nether King's body. With a boom, the Nether King was smashed into pieces, turning into countless black fog that spread out in all directions. Success! The corners of Gao Peng's mouth curled up into a smile. The people watching the battle from afar were stunned at first, but then they let out earth-shattering cheers. He won, Gao Peng won. Ha 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 ha, what underworld monarch. Wasn't he crushed by Gao Peng with a single punch? No matter how arrogant this brat is, so what if he ascended the ancient path of the stars? Didn't he still perish on my cloud return planet? At this moment, the cloud gathering planet's warriors were excited. They were going crazy. They were too excited. Although Yu Ming had only been here for a short few days, he had swept away the vast majority of the prodigies, suppressing them until they could not raise their heads. Now that Gao Peng had killed him on the spot, how could they not be happy? Did he win? The Fire Crow King was watching the battle from afar. When he felt this power, his body began to tremble. It was too terrifying. He knew how terrifying the Nether King was. A light blow from him could severely injure him. However, in the face of a power that was close to the Tao, the former could not resist at all. Brother Gao Peng really made people envious. Indeed, countless people yearned for a power that was close to the Tao. Everyone thought that Gao Peng had won. However, there was one person who was an exception, and that was Lin Xian. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. This Nether King should not be killed so easily. His eyes flickered. Suddenly he was stunned. The corners of his mouth curled up in a smile. I knew it. This Nether King indeed had a trump card. Gao Peng should lose. He shook his head slightly. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding people looked at him as if they were looking at a fool. Then they revealed a look of disdain. What did this brat say? Gao Peng would lose? What kind of joke was this? Didn't he see that the Nether King was smashed into pieces with one punch? Lin Xian ignored these people. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking ahead. In the distant void, Gao Peng shattered the Nether King with one punch and turned to leave. He knew that he had won this battle. Moreover, his reputation and status on Cloud Return Planet would rise again, reaching an unprecedented height. "Wanna leave just like that?" A faint voice suddenly sounded. "What?" Gao Peng stopped in his tracks. His body stiffened, and a look of shock appeared in his eyes. "Damn it, who is it? Get out here!" He roared, and the power in his body erupted, surging in all directions. The surrounding black fog rolled, but it became bigger and bigger, covering the entire sky. What was going on? The others were also stunned. Wasn't Nether King killed? But how did this voice come out? Everyone looked at the sky. The demonic clouds were getting bigger and bigger, and their hearts trembled. Finally, someone screamed. He didn't die. Nether King didn't die. That was indeed the case. Even if they didn't dare to believe it, they couldn't deny this fact. Nether King was indeed not dead. He turned into boundless demonic clouds and instantly enveloped Gao Peng. He didn't die? Gao Peng frowned. He didn't expect that after using a power that was close to Dao and shattering the other party's body, he actually didn't kill him. But soon he smiled coldly. So what if he didn't die? The other party definitely couldn't block this power of his. I didn't expect you to be so powerful to be able to block my punch. But it's useless. Do you think that these demonic clouds of yours can trap me? Let me tell you, in front of a power that is close to Dao, everything seems insignificant. At this point, he threw his head back and laughed loudly. With a stomp of his foot, the endless void shattered. Now his physique was extremely strong. His every move was filled with a power that was close to Dao. This stomp could destroy any invincible king. But soon, Gao Peng frowned, and his expression became incomparably cold. Chapter 30, 131. He realized that the surrounding demonic clouds didn't shatter. Instead, they became more and more terrifying. They were incomparably dark, as if they were going to swallow him up. "Damn it, get lost!" Gao Peng roared. His murderous aura was oppressive. He waved his fist and displayed a great power. Big Dipper Immortal Fist. This great power combined with a power that was close to the Tao was enough to destroy everything. However, cold sweat flowed down Gao Peng's face. He was too shocked. The surrounding demonic aura didn't weaken. Instead, it became denser. He couldn't even see his fingers in front of him. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. "A power that's close to the Tao? Do you think you're the only one who has it? I'll let you see my power." Netherworld. With a cold shout, the surrounding demonic aura turned into demons. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws. They all rushed over and enveloped Gao Peng. This wasn't a simple power. It was a power that was close to the Tao. Moreover, this power was obviously much more terrifying than Gao Peng's Tao of strength. Obviously, the Nether King had mastered this power long ago. Damn it, impossible! How can you be so powerful? Gao Peng was beaten until he retreated. His body cracked and blood flowed wildly. A hint of despair appeared in his eyes. After he comprehended the power that was close to the Tao, he was overjoyed and thought that he could defeat everyone. This power was too strong. It was so strong that he was confident that he could even fight with a half-sage. But now, he was seriously injured and couldn't even resist. The other party had also mastered the power that was close to the Tao, and it was even more terrifying than his. Is this a genius from the extraterritorial starry sky? Gao Peng's confidence was shattered into pieces. He originally thought that with his Tao of strength, he could defeat everyone in the extraterritorial starry sky. But now it seemed that he was too naive. Boom! He was directly sent flying. In the outside world, everyone was shocked when they saw that the entire sky was shrouded by endless demonic clouds. What's going on? Is Gao Peng in danger? Those people from the Big Dipper sect said confidently, "Are you kidding? Our senior brother Gaopeng has comprehended the power that's close to the Tao. How powerful was this power? How could it be dangerous? No matter how strong the Nether King is, he's no match for our senior brother. That's right, just wait and see. If our eldest senior brother can beat him up once, he can beat him up a second time. In the end, he might even be able to kill him." Indeed, that was a power that was close to the Tao. Not many in the younger generation were able to comprehend it, not to mention the young people. Even among the older generation, there were not many who had comprehended it. Anything that could be comprehended could eventually become a half-saint. People like that were extremely rare. Therefore, they regained their confidence and believed that Gaopeng would definitely be able to win this battle. Boom! In the sky, there was a rumbling sound. The demonic clouds trembled, and a figure flew out. The results were out. Was it the Nether King? Everyone looked over hopefully. In the next moment, they were stunned as if they were struck by lightning. The faces of the young geniuses of the Big Dipper sect turned ashen. Many of them fainted from fright. They realized that the one who flew out was not the Nether King, but Gaopeng. At this moment, Gaopeng was in an extremely sorry state. His body was shattered, and only a small portion of his bones were still connected. His blood turned into a sea of blood that surged in the surroundings. Gaopeng had lost. Countless people cried out in surprise. They couldn't believe it. Impossible. Damn it. Didn't he comprehend a power that was close to the Tao? How could he lose? Everyone went crazy. Only one person was calm. That was Lin Xian. He could tell from the beginning that Gaopeng would lose without a doubt. The power that the Nether King had grasped was close to the Tao. It was very terrifying and far exceeded Gaopeng's. Therefore, Gaopeng's loss in this battle was not unjustified. However, the others didn't know that. Therefore, at this moment, they screamed crazily as if the end of the world had arrived. In the sky, endless demonic clouds condensed and turned into a figure. It was the Nether King. He held a black battle saber in his hand and looked down disdainfully. He snorted coldly. "A bunch of ants. What, Gaopeng? That's all there is to it. Don't you have anyone who can fight on your cloud-returning planet? I traveled thousands of miles to descend from the outer realm. I didn't expect you to disappoint me." The Nether King shook his head slightly and ignored Gaopeng and the despairing people around him. He raised his head to look the sky, showing the lonely look of an expert. His cold voice sounded again. "I know that there should be other experts from the outer realm here. They can also attack me, and I will fight them at any time. But trash don't appear." His voice spread millions of miles away. Instantly, countless people trembled. Too domineering. The Nether King was simply like a demon god, suppressing them until they couldn't raise their heads. "Damn it, what are you being arrogant for? Where are the experts of my cloud-returning planet? Hurry up and come out and fight with him." Those young prodigies roared crazily. They could not accept defeat at all. However, those older generation figures shook their heads and sighed. How to fight? Even Gaopeng, who had comprehended power close to the Tao, was defeated. If others went up, wouldn't they be courting death? Although Gaopeng was powerful, he was not the best. My cloud-returning planet is so vast, and there are many experts and geniuses. It was a pity that those top prodigies were either in seclusion or had already left cloud-returning planet and stepped into the outer realm, or had not arrived. Otherwise, one of them could finish this guy off. It was useless to say so much. The problem was that no one could suppress the other party now. For a time, countless people below discussed, but no one dared to make a move. The Nether King waited for a long time and was impatient. In his opinion, no one was worthy of him making a move. He turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, a figure walked out. Originally, he was just passing by to watch the show. I didn't expect to be able to meet an expert like you. Since we've met, then let's fight. A faint voice sounded. This voice was not loud, but everyone heard it clearly. Soon they were stunned. Who was it? At this time he still dared to make a move? Could it be that it was one of the top few people of their cloud-returning planet? That was great. Those people were all stronger than Gaopeng. If they made a move, they would definitely be able to win. Countless gazes were burning with excitement as they searched for the person who spoke. The next moment they saw it. However, they were stunned. Who was this person? They didn't know him. He looked unfamiliar. Not one of the top few prodigies? Could it be another rising prodigy? Everyone discussed. They were extremely puzzled. In front, a young man in red walked out. He had a handsome face, and the aura on his body was not terrifying. It even made people unable to sense it. Who the hell was this person? They felt that his aura was not even as strong as the Fire Crow King. Could such a person be a match? Many young prodigies muttered, and some of the older generation figures also frowned. Many of the people who came to watch the battle were from the top family clans and factions. When they asked, they realized that this person was not a genius disciple from the family clans or large sects that they knew. Then, who exactly was this person? Who are you? In the sky, the Nether King looked down with a cold light in his eyes. Lin Xian, the young man in red said in a low voice. Chapter 31-32. Lin Xian? Never heard of him. Yu Ming shook his head, slightly. Want to exchange blows with me? At least have to be more powerful than that Gaopeng. You? He looked at Lin Xian, a hint of disdain appearing in his eyes. Indeed, he did not feel any terrifying threat from Lin Xian's body. In his view, this might be some hot-headed young martial artist, that was all. There were many such people. He disdained to pay attention to them. But Lin Xian raised a hint of a smile. His eyes twinkled with a golden light. Can't even see my strength, you're not much either? When these words came out, everyone was in an uproar. This brat was too arrogant, right? He actually dared to look down on the Nether King? Heavens, what kind of strength did he have? These people were all dazed. Big brother, if you have strength, why don't you show it? At least show a bit of terrifying killing intent. Look at when the Fire Crow King and Gaopeng came. Which one was not world-shaking, shattering the void, stepping on the firmament? But this youth in front of them, they really could not see anything special about him. In the sky, when the Nether King heard this, his face first fell. Then he raised his head and laughed loudly. Good, good, good. Looks like my methods on this cloud-returning planet are still too gentle. Until now, I haven't killed anyone, to the extent that any ant dares to challenge me. Now, I'll tell you, prodigies are not to be humiliated. Brat, go to hell for me. 2 beams of piercing cold light erupted from his eyes, turning into black lightning, piercing through the void, charging towards Lin Xian. He was really angry. Looks like if he did not show some cruel methods, these ants would not know his prowess at all. It's over. That brat is going to be killed. Humph. Prodigies are not to be humiliated. He provoked the Nether King like this. He definitely has to die. Only an existence like Gaopeng had the qualifications to fight with the Nether King. Everyone was not optimistic about Lin Xian, because they could not see through Lin Xian's depths at all. Facing the 2 bolts of black lightning, Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, a smile on his face. He did not dodge at all, nor did he take any defensive measures. He just watched quietly like this. That brat wouldn't be scared silly, right? Originally thought that he was some hidden expert. Did not expect that he was actually an idiot. This kind of attack, hurry up and dodge. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. The last glimmer of hope in their hearts had been extinguished. Lin Xian's performance did not look like that of a master at all. Humph! The Nether King snorted coldly. He didn't want to watch anymore. He turned around and soared into the sky, preparing to leave. However, in the next moment he heard countless screams, causing him to stop in his tracks. When he turned his head, his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of needles. Not dead. He looked down at the red-robed young man in surprise. The surrounding people were really crazy. They saw with their own eyes that the two black lightning bolts ruthlessly collided with Lin Xian's body and exploded with an incomparably terrifying destructive energy. The void was shattered, but Lin Xian stood there with his hands clasped behind his back, completely unharmed. Heavens, what did I just see? He had actually withstood this attack. Furthermore, he was completely unharmed. Wasn't this kid's physique a little too strong? Body refinement expert. This was definitely a body refinement expert. We all misjudged him. This kid was very strong. Screams and screams were heard. The Fire Crow King and Gao Peng were also stunned. To be honest, when Lin Xian stood out, Gao Peng shook his head. Even he had been defeated. Who else could be the Nether King's match? Unless it was the few people who were above him. However, he was incomparably familiar with those people. He didn't know Lin Xian at all. In other words, he couldn't possibly be an expert. Wasn't such a person courting death by coming out? When he saw Lin Xian face the black lightning without dodging, Gao Peng was even more certain of this thought in his heart. However, when he saw the result just now, Gao Peng was stunned. He was stunned. He couldn't believe that the other party was completely unharmed. Gao Peng was a body refinement expert. When faced with a normal attack from the Nether King, he naturally dared to use his physique to withstand it. However, this didn't mean that others would dare to do so. For example, the Fire Crow King beside him didn't dare to. He had to use offensive divine abilities to shatter or dodge. However, the young man in front of him had actually used his physique to block this attack. This meant that the other party's physique was definitely not weaker than Gao Peng's. When did such a body refinement expert appear in Cloud Returning Planet? Gao Peng and the rest were shocked. The others were also guessing. Could it be someone from Tiangang sect? Or someone from Dragon Tiger sect? No, it shouldn't be someone from Tiangang sect. Didn't you see that they were also at a loss? It couldn't be someone from Dragon Tiger sect either. Those people were also here. They also didn't know them. Who was this kid? Everyone was going crazy. In the sky, the Nether King looked at this scene and was similarly surprised. I didn't expect that I actually misjudged you. You're also a body refinement expert. However, it's a pity. Kid, you've already angered me just now. Therefore, no matter what, I'll kill you. At this point, he stretched out his left hand and pointed forward with his index finger. Between heaven and earth, violent fluctuations. Endless black gas transformed into a black finger with monstrous, demonic patterns on it, descending from the sky. Strong winds howled and thunder flashed. This finger seemed to have crossed over from the demonic world. It was extremely terrifying. As for the aftermath of that energy, it pressed the surrounding people who were watching the battle from afar, causing them to tremble and kneel on the ground. So valiant! The Fire Crow King's body trembled. Gao Peng also frowned and stared at Lin Xian. What was he going to do? Take it head-on, counterattack, or dodge? Facing such a shocking attack, Lin Xian still stood with his hands behind his back. He didn't have the slightest intention to dodge. Boom, boom, boom. This time, it completely enveloped Lin Xian. Endless demonic qi exploded and turned into a storm, spreading in all directions. That kid took it head-on again. Everyone was trembling in fear. This time it was much more powerful than the previous two gazes. Brother Gao Peng, do you think he can take it? The Fire Crow King at the side asked carefully. Gao Peng's expression was incomparably solemn. I don't know, but if he can really take it, then this kid's physique is definitely not below mine. In front, endless demonic qi rolled. Then a figure appeared. It was Lin Xian. His body was still spotless, and he didn't suffer any injuries. What? The eyes of the spectators in the distance almost popped out of their sockets. Gao Peng also sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that the other party's physique was really strong. It wasn't weaker than his big dipper body. Is that all you've got? Lin Xian still stood with his hands behind his back, looking up at the Nether King in the sky. Show me your true abilities. Otherwise, you can't hurt me. Damn kid. Yu Ming's expression completely darkened. Even this finger couldn't kill him? The other party's physique was still above his imagination. So what? The Nether King was completely enraged. He stretched out his left hand and slammed it down. Nether King's hand? This was a kind of magical power. Even if it didn't display the power close to the Tao, it was still very terrifying. When the palm struck out, Gao Peng's hair stood on end. He felt a huge threat. If he didn't use the power close to the Tao, he shouldn't be able to block this move. He guessed that Lin Xian shouldn't be able to block it either. That kid should be able to dodge. But in the next moment, he was stunned, because he realized that Lin Xian still didn't dodge. What's going on? This kid is so arrogant. Chapter 31-33. In his opinion, even if Lin Xian's physique was strong, it should be about the same as his. It was impossible to surpass his. Even he had to dodge when facing such an attack, let alone the other party. However, under everyone's stunned gazes, Lin Xian still forcefully blocked this palm. He was unharmed. This time, not to mention the martial artists of Cloud Return Planet. Even the Nether King was stunned. His palm was not weak. Although it was not his full strength, it was a kind of great magical power. He was confident that he could shatter the heavenly body. However, not only did the other party block it, but he was also unharmed. This was too shocking. Blocking and coming out unscathed were two different concepts. This meant that the other party's physique was far above their imagination. His strength was stronger than before, but it was still not enough. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. His body emitted crackling sounds. I've taken 3 of your moves. Have a taste of my attack. Buzz. He clenched his right hand into a fist. On his fist, golden patterns quickly spread, turning into a golden crow that blasted towards the sky. Boom! Above, the sky for millions of miles was instantly blasted apart. Boundless flames spread. A golden fist instantly blasted onto the Nether King's body. Boom! Boom! The Nether King was sent flying hundreds of thousands of miles. A smear of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The armor on his body was shattered. This punch had injured him. The Nether King was injured. Heavens, how is this possible? The people watching the battle from afar went crazy. The Fire Crow King was so frightened that his face was pale. Gao Peng also stood up. At this moment, his entire body was still covered in blood. His injuries had not fully recovered. However, he already could not care less. He was really too shocked. He did not expect that Lin Xian's punch was actually so terrifying. One punch injured the Nether King. Who exactly was this kid? How could his strength be so strong? Gao Peng cultivated the heavenly body. At this moment, he could naturally feel that the heavenly body actually came from trembling. This was something that had never happened before. What exactly was the other party's physique? It actually caused the heavenly body to have such a reaction. Damn kid, you dare to hurt me. The Nether King was furious. His figure flashed and instantly charged over from hundreds of thousands of miles away. This time, he didn't dare to be careless. He knew that the person in front of him was definitely a strong enemy. But so what? Previously, he had been careless. Now he was going to go all out. The black spear in his hand was raised high, emitting a cold, killing intent. The black battle spear swung down, breaking through the void and slashing viciously toward Lin Xian. This time, even Gao Peng would be split in half. However, Lin Xian still did not dodge. He raised his golden hand and slapped it toward the sky. From the looks of it, he wanted to catch this move with his bare hands. It can't be, right? This guy actually wanted to take this move with his bare hands? How could this be? The black spear was obviously a semi-divine weapon, and an extremely terrifying one at that. Even Gao Peng's heavenly steel body couldn't resist it. This brat was too arrogant. Gao Peng was equally nervous. Would the other party be able to block it? He didn't believe it. However, Lin Xian's punch had given him too much of a shock. Clang! An earth-shattering sound was heard. Countless people's ears were bleeding from the shock, and many people's bodies were cracked. From this, one could imagine how frightening the collision was. However, what made everyone pee their pants was that Lin Xian's palm was still completely unharmed. It shone with a golden light in the sky like the sun. The black spear was blocked by him, and he was holding it in his hand. This weapon was not bad. Lin Xian commented as if he wasn't in a life-and-death battle. "Damn it, who are you? Who the hell are you?" Nether King roared. He was very clear about how terrifying his black spear was. No one could stop it. However, the other party blocked it with only his physical body. This was definitely not something that the heavenly steel body could compare with. "Who are you? A holy body or a war body?" He screamed crazily. In his opinion, only this kind of powerful body, which was passed down in ancient legends, could block his death spear with his bare hands. "Who are you? Who the hell are you?" This roaring sound reverberated between heaven and earth. The other people watching the battle were also very confused. They also wanted to know who the other party was. At this moment, Lin Xian was the center of attention and was shrouded in countless gazes. He was still calm and said indifferently, "My name is Lin Xian. I've already said it before. However, in the future, you can remember one of my titles. My name is Lin Wudi." His voice resounded in all directions, shocking everyone. Lin Wudi. Those 3 words were like thunder, striking the hearts of everyone, making them tremble. What kind of confidence was that? How dare he call himself Lin Wudi? One had to know that this title was different from that of an invincible king. An invincible king was actually a 9-star king, which represented the highest level of a king. However, an invincible king was not truly invincible. Even an invincible king at the great perfection stage was no match for a half-sage. Sure enough, after Nether King heard that, he snorted coldly. "Kid, you're too arrogant. The world is so big. Who dares to call themselves invincible? You're still far from being invincible." He was furious. In his opinion, Lin Xian should be an expert, but he was unwilling to say his real name. As for Lin Wudi, he did not believe it at all. This should be a trick of the other parties. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "How can a piece of trash like you understand my path?" At this point, a piercing light burst out from his eyes. The golden sword on his body shot into the sky. At this moment, Lin Xian was really domineering to the extreme. At this moment, he no longer hid it. Instead, he revealed his sharpness. Lin Wudi. That's right. From now on, that would be his title. Lin Xian decided to embark on the path of invincibility. He wanted to conquer the world and be invincible in the world. Damn it. That aura! Everyone in the distance was stunned. The sword chi on Lin Xian's body was really too terrifying. As soon as it appeared, these people all trembled. Those who were weaker even knelt on the ground, unable to raise their heads at all. Not only that, the weapons on their bodies were also trembling as if they were worshipping an emperor. Even the Fire Crow King and Gao Peng's bodies were trembling. They could not control that kind of trembling. Damn it. Who exactly is this person? Especially Gao Peng. He had already comprehended a power that was close to Tao. It could be said that he was standing at the peak. However, at this moment, he was still trembling in front of Lin Xian. When the Nether King felt the sharp sword chi, his expression also changed. Too powerful. He had far surpassed Gao Peng, and even surpassed him. Damn it. Get out of my way. Dance of Death. At this point, The Nether King also mobilized all of his power and crazily waved the death battle spear in his hand. Buzz! Lin Xian loosened his grip and let go of the death battle spear. His right hand was in the air. An endless golden light formed a golden sword in his hand. It slashed down from the sky. Slash! On the opposite side, the Nether King also shouted coldly. The death battle spear danced crazily and collided with the golden sword in the air. With a clang, the void within 1,000,000 miles was shattered again. Endless waves of air spread out in all directions with the two of them as the center. Everyone was swept away. Gao Peng also kept retreating. In the end, he had to activate a power that was close to Dao to be able to block the attack. Too powerful. He was trembling. Chapter 30, 134. After the attack, the Nether King spat out blood and flew backward. His entire right arm was shattered. The death spear was sent flying. He was severely injured. Lin Xian, on the other hand, pointed forward like a god of swords. From the beginning to the end, he was not injured at all. Bring out your power that is close to the Tao. Otherwise, it will not be enough. Indeed, the reason why Lin Xian attacked was to experience the Nether King's power that was close to the Tao. He knew that in the future battles, he would have to fight more and more monstrous geniuses. He might even fight with half-saints and sages. He wanted to understand all kinds of power and laws that were close to the Tao. As you wish. The Nether King's broken arm grew back, and the death spear was in his hand again. His expression became cold. That was because he was very confident in his Netherworld Tao, no matter how strong his opponent was. So what? He had a power that was close to the Tao. Netherworld Tao. Endless black gas spread out from the Nether King's body, completely covering the entire sky. Then, the Nether King's entire body was immersed in the darkness. For a moment, everyone saw the endless darkness again. They could not see the battle situation inside. Gao Peng had no choice but to retreat. It was the Nether King's Netherworld Tao that defeated his Tao of strength. The Netherworld Tao suppressed even the soul. It could not even be seen. Lin Xian was wrapped in endless darkness as he muttered to himself. That was indeed the case. It was incomparably dark. He could not see or hear anything at all. It was equivalent to depriving him of all his senses. If someone else was wrapped in such darkness, they would probably be instantly assassinated. Boom! Boom! Clang! Sure enough, in the next moment, he received tens of thousands of attacks. This happened in the blink of an eye. Then, Lin Xian received hundreds of thousands of attacks. However, his body was still flickering with mysterious runes. At this moment, his 9-yang divine body had reached the half-saint realm. The strength of his physique was definitely beyond imagination. No matter how powerful his opponent's divine ability was or how terrifying his weapon was, it would probably not be able to break through his physical body. Damn it, he's actually so strong. The Nether King hid in the darkness again. His arm was numb. After hundreds of thousands of attacks, not to mention an invincible king, even a group of invincible kings would be killed. However, the Nether King was unharmed. What exactly was his physique? This damned brat, he actually dared to be so arrogant. He discovered that Lin Xian didn't even counterattack in the hundreds of thousands of attacks from before. Instead, he simply allowed himself to be hit. The Nether King was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. However, he still had a trump card, and that was the Netherworld Tao. The endless darkness flickered with a dim light and quickly gathered towards the Death War halberd in his hand. This time, the Death War spear was imbued with a power that was close to the Tao. Let's see how you're going to dodge this time. Yu Ming let out a soundless chuckle as he appeared behind Lin Xian like a ghost. He quickly raised the Death War spear in his hand and brought it down viciously. There was no sound or light during the entire process, so the other party definitely wouldn't be able to sense it. But in the next moment, he was scared out of his wits. In front of him, Lin Xian suddenly turned his head. The golden light in his eyes shone like two divine lamps in the darkness. Damn it, I've been discovered. What kind of eyes were those? Yu Ming was so frightened that his hair stood on end. However, he had already made his move, and he had even imbued it with a power that was close to the Tao. So what if the other party discovered him? Death War Spear. First slash of the nether. As the blade slashed down, endless black gas rolled. Even if Gao Peng had mastered the Tao of Power, he wouldn't be able to survive. In his opinion, Lin Xian was definitely going to die. In the face of this shocking and peerless killing move, Lin Xian didn't dodge. However, at this moment, runes flickered in his golden eyes. Then a red light flew out. Whoosh! This ball of flame was very small, like a soybean. When it landed on the Death War Spear, it suddenly exploded and turned into a monstrous fire that swept in all directions. The Tao of Fire, Smoke and Fire. At this moment, Lin Xian also displayed a power that was close to the Tao. Moreover, his power that was close to the Tao was very terrifying, especially the power of fire. Therefore, as soon as it appeared, the endless black gas and demonic clouds in the surroundings rolled violently. Then they were ignited and burned. A power that was close to the Tao of Fire. Damn it, suppress it for me. The Nether King roared. He didn't expect the other party to have a power that was close to the Tao. Moreover, it was the power of fire. He mobilized the Tao of the Netherworld and quickly suppressed it. But soon he screamed in horror. I can't suppress it. How can your power be so strong? I'm going crazy. One had to know that Gao Peng also had a power that was close to the Tao. However, the Nether King didn't care, because he could see that Gao Peng had just mastered this power. In the eyes of others, it might be very strong, but in front of him, it was pitifully weak. But now he was trembling. Lin Xian's power of fire was much more terrifying than his netherworld power. He was definitely a super genius. Damn it! The Nether King wanted to escape, but he was enveloped by the monstrous flames. In the next moment, he screamed as his body was ignited. In the outside world, everyone was waiting anxiously. They didn't know how the battle was going. But suddenly Gao Peng screamed, "Look!" In the next moment, countless people stretched their necks and looked into the distance. Above the sky, a fiery red light suddenly lit up in the endless darkness. Then, the demonic aura that filled the sky was covered by flames and burned fiercely. The entire world was illuminated by the flames. Flames, it was flames! Where did the flames come from? It was from that kid. Heavens, he actually burned the demonic aura. It was close to the power of the path. Gao Peng's body trembled. Although he controlled the path of power, he was insignificant in front of the power of fire. The others also screamed. Was this the power that was close to the path? That kid was actually a top-notch expert. They had misjudged him. They didn't expect there to be such a super expert beside them. They didn't know which one was stronger, the path of fire or the path of the netherworld. Gao Peng was also extremely nervous and clenched his fists. Soon he was stunned. He saw a figure flying out of the sky and being ignited by the endless flames. He was screaming in pain. It was the Nether King. The Nether King was defeated. The Nether King was burned. Screams came one after another. The demonic aura that filled the sky was burned, and the endless flames formed a fire dragon that crawled under Lin Xian's feet. Damn it, I admit defeat. Stop! The netherworld fell into the mountain range, shattering dozens of mountain ranges. However, he still couldn't put out the flames on his body. Therefore, he could only admit defeat. Hearing that, Lin Xian snorted coldly. Suddenly, the flames that filled the sky all entered his body. The Nether King fell to the ground, panting nonstop. His expression was extremely ugly. Defeated, the Nether King was actually defeated. Gao Peng's body trembled, and the others were even more stunned. They knew how terrifying the Nether King was. He swept in all directions, and even Gao Peng was no match for him. But now such a person was defeated, and he was defeated very miserably. Chapter 30:135. They could see that if Lin Xian hadn't held back, the Nether King might have been killed. Who are you? Which sect are you from? Which planet are you from? The Nether King stood up and roared. He couldn't believe it, so he had to know the other party's identity. Lin Xian stood on the fire dragon with his hands behind his back like a god. His voice echoed between heaven and earth. You just need to know that my name is Lin Wudi. After saying that, the fire dragon under his feet carried him and flew into the distance, disappearing into the sky. Lin Wudi. The Nether King's expression was ugly. The others repeated the name, silently shocked. Although Lin Xian had left, the shock he had created was still there. Moreover, it became more and more intense. Then, the news swept through the entire cloud-returning planet like a storm. Everyone knew that Gao Peng had been defeated in this battle. The Nether King attacked powerfully, suppressing everyone until they couldn't raise their heads. Then, a person called Lin Wudi attacked and defeated the Nether King in a few moves. In the end, he only left the crowd to watch. Too cool. That Lin Wudi is too cool. I must marry such a man. Many female criminals were infatuated. This is a true peerless powerhouse. As for the other great sects and top families, they were frantically searching for information on Lin Wudi. However, they found that they knew nothing about him. It was as if he had appeared out of thin air and then disappeared without a trace. They couldn't find him at all. Lin Wudi, the Nether King, gritted his teeth. He turned and soared into the sky, leaving cloud-returning planet. Although I don't know who you are, one day we will meet again on the ancient path of stars. The Nether King left completely. On cloud-returning planet, it continued. Everyone was talking about this battle and the mysterious young man, Lin Wudi. At this time, Lin Xian had already left Heaven's vault peak. He was on his way again. It was about time to give Wan Gong, young Master Shen, and the others a warning. Defeating the Nether King was just a small interlude. Lin Xian's main goal now was to break through to the half-step Saint realm. This was because he could see that the top group of Sky Prides had already grasped a power that was close to the Tao. However, whoever could break through to the half-saint realm first and master the precept fragment would be able to seize the opportunity and suppress the other geniuses. Lin Xian now had a huge advantage over those people. His physical body was still at the half-saint level. Next, he only needed his cultivation and comprehension of the laws to reach that level. Now that he had the sacred breakthrough pill, he could significantly increase the speed and success rate. Forming a seal with his palms, Lin Xian triggered the flame he had left in young Master Shen's body. He knew that those aristocratic family disciples wouldn't obediently collect them. After all, although he had displayed a bit of his strength back then, it was not as shocking as the battle with the Nether King today. Therefore, with the status and thoughts of those family disciples, they should have turned a deaf ear to it. However, things might not be the same in the future. The Shen family. It was a very famous family in the northern continent. Although it wasn't the best, it was still a big family. After young Master Shen returned to the Shen family, he behaved himself for a few days and then came out again. Of course, he didn't go far. He stayed within the Shen family's sphere of influence. At this moment, he gathered a group of genius disciples from big families to hunt. They had gained a lot from this battle. In the sky, a group of people flew quickly. It was young Master Shen and his group. Each of them was sitting on a bloody dragon horse. This was a type of flying demon beast. Behind each bloody dragon horse hung a huge corpse. These were the demon kings they hunted. Every one of them was terrifying. The group of people attracted a lot of attention. Brother Shen, your strength has increased again. Yes, that slash just now was really powerful. It directly killed the tiger demon's vital point. An ordinary 9-star demon king is no match for Brother Shen. Young Master Shin was very happy. He was overjoyed when he heard the compliments of the surrounding geniuses. As for the spirit herbs Lin Xian had asked him to collect, he had already forgotten about them. In his opinion, Shen Tian was strong enough to fight against the Bloody Blade Monarch. But so what? No matter how strong the Bloody Blade Monarch was, it was only in Giant Armor City. Here, the Shun family was still in charge. No matter how strong the Bloody Blade Monarch was, would he dare to behave atrociously in the Shun family's territory? The answer was definitely no. Thus, young Master Shin didn't take Su Chen's words to heart. But in the next moment his body trembled. His pupils constricted, and he screamed in horror. This was because a tiny flame inside his body was trembling slightly. Then it spread rapidly. His internal organs were burned to ashes. In the next moment, endless flames appeared on the surface of his body and enveloped him. Ah! Young Master Shin screamed and fell from the bloody dragon horse. He rolled in the air and looked very miserable. Endless smoke filled the air. Damn it, what's going on? Brother Shen! The martial artists around him were scared out of their wits when they saw the scene. The powerful cultivators from the Shun family rushed over. Young Master! They attacked crazily. Watch me. An old man opened his mouth and spat out seawater to envelop young Master Shin. But it was useless. Use mine. I have a sea orchid pearl passed down from my ancestors. Just then a prodigy took out a blue pearl and threw it out. The pearl shattered as soon as it got close to the flame. The prodigy was sent flying while vomiting blood. Damn it, what's going on? Everyone was stunned. Next, they tried more than a dozen magical powers and treasures. But it was useless. Young Master Shin was burned to a dry corpse amidst endless screams of horror. The other prodigies were terrified. They looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Who was it? How dare they attack here? They screamed like crazy, but there was only a chilly wind blowing around. No one answered. The powerful cultivators from the Shen family trembled. In just a moment, their young master was burned to a dry corpse. They couldn't react at all. Everyone knew it was over. Something big had happened. Young Master Shin was the descendant of one of the Shun family's ancestors. He was very popular. Now that young Master Shin was dead, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Let's go quickly. These people carried the burnt corpse and flew quickly. They even abandoned the demonic beasts that were hunting. They quickly returned to the Shun family. The other genius martial artists were also extremely frightened and quickly fled. Who knew if there were any powerful cultivators around? When the Shen family heard the news, it was a sensation. The ancestor of the Shun family came out of seclusion. Looking at the burnt corpse, he roared to the sky. Damn it, who did it? The battle servants of the Shun family knelt on the ground, trembling. Ancestor, we didn't see it clearly. Young Master seemed to be burned out of thin air. Even if someone attacked, it was an extremely powerful cultivator. With their strength, how could they see it clearly? Chapter 31-36. Investigate. Send the family's experts to investigate. You must find out who did this. I must tear him to shreds. The old ancestor of the Shin family roared to the sky, and the power in his body soared into the sky. At the same time, the news also spread. After all, in addition to the warriors of the Shin family, there were more than a dozen genius disciples of the big clans present. After experiencing this scene, they were terrified, and the news came from their mouths. For a time, the city was in an uproar. Among them, Wan Gong, Haiyu Yumin, and those who were planted with a flame prohibition by Lin Xian all learned about it. They were scared out of their wits and returned to their clans. They had no choice. Before, they had the same idea as young Master Shin. They thought that if they returned to the sphere of influence controlled by their clans, no matter how strong the other party was, they could not do anything to them. But now it was different. Young Master Shin burned out of thin air and turned into a dry corpse. This scene really provoked them. Who knew if the next step would be them? For a time, these people went crazy. They first asked the elders of their clans for help, asking them to break the flame prohibition in their bodies. But soon they despaired, because they found that although the flame prohibition was small, it could not be broken at all. A few of them began to despair. After countless attempts, they finally put away their thoughts and began to gather the spirit herbs that Lin Xian had instructed them to gather with all their might. However, people like Wan Gong and Hai Yu did not give up. They looked for all kinds of ways. Wan Gong went back to the Tiangang sect and asked his master for help. Hai Yu, on the other hand, was alone. She wore a thin veil and came to a mountain range. Then she walked into one of the caves. Although this storm was not small, it was still drowned in the legend of Lin Wudi. On the other side, Lin Xian withdrew his palm. This was just a small warning. He thought that those people should obediently collect the spiritual herbs. If he still did not see the spiritual herbs after 3 months, then he would not be merciful. He wondered how many of the people in the 1,000 herb hall had collected. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He decided to go to Giant Armor City again to take a look. Apart from the few precious spirit herbs that were hard to find, he had to speed up his search for the other spirit herbs. After all, he didn't just collect 1 but 3. With a flicker, Lin Xian soared into the sky and disappeared. Ever since Lin Xian had left, the Bloody Blade Monarch and Madame Hua had been doing their best to gather spiritual herbs in the great Armor City's myriad herb hall. They knew how powerful Lin Xian was, so they didn't dare to resist, and the whole thing was proceeding smoothly and quickly. Lin Xian had left behind a large number of spirit herbs, but other than the most expensive ones, most of them could be found in the 10,000 herb hall. As for the precious few, they decided to search for them slowly. However, in the past few days, the 10,000 herb hall had clearly not been collecting spiritual herbs. Of course, it wasn't because they had betrayed Lin Xian, but because something else had happened. At this moment, a group of people had gathered in the grand hall of the 10,000 herb hall. Sitting at the very top was the Bloody Blade Monarch. Beside him was Madame Hua, and on both sides were the elders of the 10,000 herb hall. However, it was obvious that these elders were all injured. The Bloody Blade Monarch's expression was very ugly. He looked at the letter in his hand, and his body trembled slightly. "Are you saying that that fellow has really returned?" "That's right, he has indeed returned. When we were collecting spiritual herbs, we encountered him and were injured by him. Furthermore, he told us to pass on a message. In 3 days, he will come to settle the matter from back then. Damn it, he's too arrogant. There are so many of us. Do we have to be afraid of him?" Madame Hua snorted coldly and looked at the Bloody Blade Monarch. The Bloody Blade Monarch's expression was very grave. "How many people did he bring this time to injure you?" The elders below all had ugly expressions. There weren't many people, just him. "What?" The moment this was said, the other powerhouses in the hall were stunned. Madame Hua's body also trembled, and the Bloody Blade Monarch's pupils shrank. 1 person? How was this possible? He only knew that these elders of his were all invincible kings. What? 1 person could defeat all of them? "Your Majesty, we discovered that this fellow's strength seems to have reached the complete 9-star realm." "What? Complete 9-star realm?" Hearing this, the Bloody Blade Monarch stood up with a bang. The complete 9-star realm was the last realm of the 9 new kings. It was 1 level higher than him. He was only at the peak of the 9-star realm, 1 step away from the complete 9-star realm. This step was like a moat that was very difficult to cross. Damn it! Although the Bloody Blade Monarch was gritting his teeth, the blood sea behind him was surging, and Madame Hua's face was pale. He quickly said, "Your Majesty, why don't we quickly contact the Qi family and let the other sect's experts kill him?" Even the Bloody Blade monarch might not be able to defeat a complete 9-star realm expert, let alone the others. Perhaps only the Qi family's experts could do it. However, the Bloody Blade monarch shook his head. No, this is our own matter. If we ask the Qi family for help, they will think that we are useless. At that time, not only will they not help us, but they might even remove us. After all, the Qi family would not raise trash. The Bloody Blade monarch knew that they couldn't ask the Qi family for help. It seemed that they had to think of another way. Their faces were filled with worry. Just like that, 2 days passed. There was only 1 day left before the 3 days that they spoke of. The Bloody Blade monarch and the others couldn't find any way to resist. On the 3rd day, the sun rose. Everyone had not slept for 3 days. To them, it was nothing. However, everyone's face was filled with worry. The entire 10,000 herb hall was not open for business. It was as if they were facing a great enemy. The array was activated, ready to strike at any time. However, at that moment, a figure walked in from outside the 10,000 herb hall. Is he here? Sensing that someone had come in, everyone was on guard. In the 10,000 herb hall's main hall, a figure walked in. His footsteps were like thunder, surging in everyone's hearts. Following that was a cold voice. What? I haven't seen you for a few days, and you want to rebel? You want to use arrays to deal with me? The voice was very sharp and carried a murderous aura, causing the surrounding array to tremble. Damn it! How can the enemy be so powerful? Many elders trembled. However, the Bloody Blade monarch's pupils shrank. No, it wasn't him. It seemed to be Lin Gongzi's voice. Lin Gongzi was here. Hurry up and welcome him. What? You're talking about Lin Gongzi? They naturally wouldn't forget who Lin Gongzi was. They had been collecting spirit herbs day and night for the sake of that young man. Previously, they had wanted to ask Lin Xian for help, but they had been unable to contact Lin Xian. They hadn't expected that Lin Xian would actually come at this crucial juncture. In an instant, the Bloody Blade monarch and the others were extremely excited as they hurried out. At the same time, the Bloody Blade monarch shouted loudly, "Young master, it's a misunderstanding. We're not targeting you." As he said that, the surrounding array quickly dimmed. Chapter 31-37. Lin Xian was in the main hall. After the battle with the Underworld King on Tianqiong Peak, he had flown towards Giant Armor City. He had finally arrived on this day. When he arrived at the 10,000 herb hall, he felt that it was unusual. Originally, the 10,000 herb hall had been bustling with people. However, it was quiet now. There was not a single person, and the array had even been opened. It was obvious that they were targeting someone. Therefore, Lin Xian had thought that they were targeting him. However, it seemed that this was not the case. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He frowned slightly when he saw the Bloody Blade monarch, Madame Hua, and a group of elders walking towards him. Then he asked, "How many of the spiritual herbs have you collected?" "Young master, we have collected a portion of them." Then the Bloody Blade monarch took out a storage ring respectfully. Lin Xian took it and probed it with his soul. He nodded slightly. Barely enough. However, it wasn't very fast. Everyone trembled when they heard this. Fear appeared in their eyes. They would never forget Lin Xian's methods. The Bloody Blade monarch broke out in a cold sweat. He said, "Young master, it's not that we don't want to hurry and collect them. However, we have encountered some trouble." "Trouble? What kind of trouble? Tell me." Lin Xian put away the storage ring and asked coldly, "Recently, the 10,000 herb hall has been targeted. Therefore, we don't dare to collect spiritual herbs. Not to mention collecting spiritual herbs, we don't even know if we can survive." According to the Bloody Blade monarch, this had happened 200 years ago. Back then, he had used all sorts of methods to climb higher on the martial Tao. Among them, he had gone against someone. At that time, he had used some methods to defeat that person. He had even broken that person's arm. At first, he had thought that person had died 200 years ago. However, he had never expected that person to return today. Moreover, that person had killed his way back from the purgatory planet. That person's cultivation had surpassed his. He had reached the 9-star Great Circle. It was even said that he had become a disciple of an extremely terrifying half-sage. Regardless of whether it was his identity or his strength, he had surpassed the Bloody Blade Monarch. Therefore, that person would naturally seek revenge on the Bloody Blade Monarch. 9-star Great Circle? A half-sage? Lin Xian frowned slightly. What was his name? When will he come? His name is Lone Wolf, and the message he sent me was today. Lone Wolf? Today? Lin Xian coldly snorted. It didn't matter if he was a Great Circle expert or a half-sage disciple. Even a half-sage wouldn't be able to stop him. Don't worry. With me around, Lone Wolf and Half-Saint won't be a threat to you. You just need to focus on gathering spirit herbs for me. Thank you, young master. Upon hearing Lin Xian's words, the Bloody Blade Monarch and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xian was quite terrifying. He had completely surpassed them. It should not be a problem for him to deal with Lone Wolf. Bloody Blade Monarch, it's been 200 years. I didn't expect you to be doing so well. But today I'm here to take your life. A cold and emotionless voice suddenly sounded between heaven and earth. Immediately after, the surrounding void cracked open like a poisonous snake baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, causing one to tremble. Here it comes. In the main hall, the elders and powerhouses of the myriad herb hall trembled. Their eyes were filled with deep shock. The Bloody Blade Monarch's eyelids also twitched. However, in the next moment he snorted coldly. Lone Wolf, I didn't expect you to still be alive. Furthermore, you have the audacity to provoke me. Today, I'll completely turn you into a dead wolf. With Lin Xian by his side, the Bloody Blade Monarch was naturally filled with confidence. He waved his hand and the defensive array formation outside opened, creating a vacuum zone. Then the Bloody Blade Monarch respectfully said to Lin Xian, "Young master, please take a seat." Lin Xian had his hands behind his back as he walked north. Soon he sat on a blood-red throne. The Bloody Blade Monarch, Madame Hua, and the surrounding elders all carefully accompanied him. Whoosh! Thunder roared in front of them as the void cracked open. A gray figure directly charged into the main hall. It was a man in gray robes. His face was gloomy, and there were 2 scars on his face. His eyes were a strange blue. The blood-red aura on his body was very terrifying. It was even more terrifying than the Bloody Blade Monarch's. It was as if he had crawled out of a boundless sea of blood. This person was the Bloody Blade Monarch's enemy from 200 years ago, Lone Wolf. When Lone Wolf arrived, he looked around. When he saw that the person sitting in the middle wasn't the Bloody Blade Monarch, but a young man, he was slightly stunned. However, he quickly stopped paying attention to him. He had come to kill the Bloody Blade Monarch, so he naturally knew that the other party had sided with the Qi family. In his opinion, Lin Xian should be a young master of the Qi family. Although his status was precious, what about his strength? He simply didn't think much of him. He had come this time to kill the Bloody Blade Monarch and immediately leave the cloud-returning planet. No matter how powerful the Qi family was, what could they do to him? If Lin Xian dared obstruct him, he would just kill him with one slash. Thus, his gaze quickly shifted from Lin Xian to the Bloody Blade Monarch. 200 years ago, when you crippled me and even wanted to kill me, you didn't expect this day to come, did you? Today, I will put an end to the 200 years of enmity. Lone Wolf's voice carried a trace of madness. He had probably suffered all kinds of torture over the past 200 years. Back then, he had lost an arm and been chased down. He had been seriously injured and had almost died. Fortunately, he had grasped the opportunity to completely leave the cloud-returning planet and come to the extremely terrifying Purgatory planet. Furthermore, on the Purgatory planet, he had suffered a lot before finally becoming a disciple of an extremely terrifying half-sage and cultivating a body of remarkable abilities. Now he had reached the Great Circle of the 9-star Great Circle. He felt that the time was right, so he had returned to the cloud-returning planet to prepare for revenge. "You want to kill me? You don't have that ability." The Bloody Blade monarch snorted and stepped forward. Although he knew that the other party's cultivation level was higher than his, he naturally wasn't afraid now that Lin Xian was around. Thus, he wanted to test the other party's skills. With a clang, the Bloody Blade monarch drew his blade. The surrounding sea of blood surged as he charged at Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf sneered. "Peak 9-star? You're no match for me. I'm at the peak of 9-star now." The blood-colored lightning on his body erupted, and a destructive force directly pierced through the sea of blood. At the same time, his fist carried blood-colored runes and rushed out like a volcano erupting. Boom! Boom! The two of them exchanged blows, and it was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, the 10,000 herb hall was enveloped by an array formation. Otherwise, it would have been reduced to ashes. After 10 moves, the Bloody Blade monarch was sent flying. His chi and blood were in turmoil, and his arm was blown apart. He spat out a large amount of blood. He was in an extremely sorry state. The two of them were one realm apart. That was the difference between heaven and earth. "Ha ha ha, is this all you've got? Too trashy. Don't worry. I'll catch you and torture you to death bit by bit." Lone Wolf forced the Bloody Blade monarch back with a punch. He laughed loudly and waved his hand, wanting to grab the Bloody Blade monarch. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.